Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard,
I survived GenCon 2026.
and we go to a frankly horrifying number of cons every year.
Disaster Con, flooded with water. Wait till you hear we're next.
Stop clickbaiting the audience.
For the record, we don't do the clickbait, this con was a disaster type stuff, although this would be an apt con to do it, and we will talk about some of that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we didn't experience all of this directly, although we did see some of it, so.
Yeah, well, let's get this out of the way early. Yes, GenCon 2026 got hit with a tornado warning at one point, and there was some leaking of water from the roof.
And a pipe apparently burst in one of the basements where somebody was sheltering at the same time, which is kind of hilarious in retrospect.
Yeah.
As far as I know, no one was actually hurt, so it's okay to laugh about it.
Yes. Mostly it briefly rained inside one of the gaming halls.
Yes. And we did witness a little bit of that. We didn't witness the pipe bursting, thankfully. I am kind of weirdly glad we were in the gaming hall for that compared to the other places we could have been.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, in case you see any videos with headlines like GenCon flooding disaster, they're being hyperbolic for clicks.
Yep. We generally don't tend to like to say that cons are disasters because we are a con-positive podcast. I will admit Gen Con does test my limits a little bit with being a con-positive podcast, but not because of the tornado warning, because that can literally happen at any con.
Yep.
And stuff like the roof leaking, while there probably do need to be support issues there, you have to keep in mind that if the roof doesn't leak, the next option is the roof collapsing. At a certain point, you have to allow the roof to leak so the water on top doesn't get too heavy and allow the roof to collapse, which is a much bigger problem.
Yeah, that would have been a lot worse if that had happened. Yeah. That did not happen, for the record.
So generally, most convention center buildings that are shaped like that, where they have large amounts of extremely flat space, do have that as a unfortunate but somewhat necessary fail-safe mechanic, because it's otherwise too hard to get the water off the roof.
Yeah. So yeah. We're not going to be doing any of that hyperbolic nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So, what the hell is GenCon, honey?
GenCon is an 80,000 person gaming convention in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yep. This is our second year attending. If you want to know how last year went, go listen to that episode of the podcast.
Generally, last year, I will say we got a better kind of schedule list, and I think had a better overall experience than this year.
I think so. And again, we should probably talk about, the first part of GenCon is scheduling your events for GenCon.
Yeah.
And side note, GenCon, your scheduling system goddamn sucks on toast.
Yep.
It's way worse than Origins. Even with Origins now using Qt, at least with that you can make your own choices.
Yep.
Whereas with GenCon, the way you basically do it is you create a wish list of 50 things, and then when it hits midday on whatever the dedicated day is, you have to, as quickly as possible, hit a submit my wish list button, and then it processes them in the order it gets them.
I don't know if it's for sure if it's the order that gets them. I do think it's just kind of they wait a half a second, then maybe place people in a random queue. They don't really explain it.
But either way, it means that whoever gets early in the line gets everything they want.
And keep in mind, Origins does use the Qt system, which is similar to that, but at least with Qt, it lets more than one person in at a time to go look at games. It just staggers them at least a little bit, which at least gives some people a chance to get something they want, generally. It's still not perfect, but it's at least better than giving the first person absolutely everything that's on their wish list. And keep in mind, this is another system that tends to benefit large groups because they can just get tickets for everyone, because you can put your friends and family on the wish list and just get tickets for giant groups of people at a time, which is what a lot of people wind up doing. In addition to this, your wish list can only contain 50 items.
Yep.
And you have no idea what's going to be popular.
Yep.
And you also can't control it if there's like multiple showings of one event and you only get one of those.
Because again, if there's a game that, like, say for example, you were really interested in playing that new Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG.
Yep.
They were basically premiering it here, which meant that there was a lot of different times when it was going on. But if you only wanted to play it once throughout the weekend, you couldn't really put all the different options on your wish list, because otherwise it might be like, oh, you want to play Dungeon Crawler Carl? Here, have all of these times. Because there's no way to say, if this game is in multiple available time slots, give me one of them.
Yep.
So yeah.
And you can give the tickets back if you get tickets to stuff you don't want, but keep in mind, by the time you're actually in and able to fiddle with your wish list, more tickets are gone, so you're sacrificing another spot to basically get the Dungeon Crawler Carl game 6 times.
Yep. And again, that's not anything against the Dungeon Crawler Carl game. Like, I'm sure it's fine.
It was just something that was running a lot this weekend because a lot of the Dungeon Crawler Carl people were here.
Yep. I did actually see Matt Denman this weekend.
Oh, nice.
I didn't meet him or anything. I walked past a giant line and was like, oh, I wonder what that's for. Oh, that's Matt Denman. Okay, that's what the giant line is for. But, yeah, so, yeah, your ticketing system is awful, GenCon. It's actively the worst of
it's better than
games.
PAX.
Yeah, from what we've been told about PAX, it is still at least better than PAX is, but that does make it good. So yeah, your system is awful. And again, I realize what this system is. Because I know the way that Origins used to do it was you had to mail in a wish list and they would like go through them all by hand and assign tickets that way.
Yeah.
This is just that, but digitized.
Yep. Yeah, I presume what they used to do was just randomize the packets that they got sent in for the by mail wish list and then just pick the first one and give that person everything on their list and then go down. So there wouldn't be another way to do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a way to build a software system such that you can take everyone's first choice and then their second choice and then their third choice in sequence so people can get the games they most want.
Yeah. Because again, if like, you know, if something like, for example, Pony Hammer is top of our wish list, but like 46th on somebody else's, quite frankly, I think we deserve that more than they do because it's that low on their wish list. Like, they're less interested in it than we are. Not the like, this is the problem. Everybody should play Pony Hammer, but they run Pony Hammer like once a year, and it only has 12 seats. So.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because last year didn't even it did sell out technically, but I think there were only about 8 people at the table last year, whereas this year we had a full 12. We'll talk more about that.
Yep.
And this year we were even going with our friend Betty again. They're unfortunately not on this podcast, so they are driving to her house right now, so that's cool.
Yeah, they're keeping with us tonight, but they're using their own vehicle.
So we can't really have them on the podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so this year we, once again, we went through the ticketing scrum and we didn't do good.
Yep.
We, all 3 of us got pretty low numbers. We'd coordinated our schedules such that we would hopefully get into games together, and I think there was one thing this weekend.
We got into one game together.
Yeah.
And we got like 1 tickets to a few things, and at multiple tickets, it was just kind of a chaotic mess.
Yeah. Like, you compare the schedule we had here to the one we had at Origins. Like, at Origins, it was quite logical, quite sensible. Here, it was an absolute hodgepodge.
Yep. I did not know what we were doing multiple days. It was just kind of random, and I had to keep refreshing the app, hoping the tickets to games we actually wanted to go to would turn up generally.
Rather than being on like second or third choices for a given time slot. And half of them weren't even like second or third choices. Like, did we get anything within our top 25?
Not really. No. I think we got like 1 thing. I don't even think we got that much stuff that was even on our wish list generally.
Because we ended up having to just like go back in and find stuff that still had available tickets and just kind of scrounge them as fast as we could.
Well, it doesn't help that even just as a single couple, we're competing against families and super large friend groups. Who, like, if they just have 1 person there, they'll get a lot of stuff for them generally.
Yeah. Which, it wouldn't surprise me if they will argue that that's the reason why you only get 50 like spots.
Yeah.
To prevent somebody like having a friends group of like 50 people that they've like set up for.
Even if they did that, they would still be guaranteed to get into the games. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we didn't have as good a time this year.
No.
And didn't help that I think it ended today on a kind of a pretty bad note that it's a little bit coloring this. I had hoped that it was going to be better today. I do think that Friday and Saturday were good days for the most part. Thursday and Sunday were not, which is kind of hard to kind of cap the podcast on generally, or con generally.
Yeah. So yeah, technically we were also there Wednesday, but I deliberately took Wednesday through Friday off for this con.
Also, all the tickets cost money.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Screw you for charging money for every single event, GenCon.
So GenCon tickets are already close to $170 a ticket, and Airbnbs there are more expensive than anywhere else we stayed.
Yep.
Like, we were staying with Betty this time, but even so, our Airbnb for a 2-bedroom place was $900. And that was with a discount due to our previous Airbnb canceling and us having to rebook a different Airbnb.
Yep. This is probably the most expensive con we do, and I don't think it's terribly close.
It's not. And it's hard because you have to deal with all these other factors that I feel like make the con less enjoyable for everyone. Like, people feel just kind of stressed out and grumpy because they're so overstimulated here quite a bit.
Yeah. And again, because you have to pay money for every single game, I think there is I don't know, it feels like you're pressured to enjoy them more in a way that actually makes them less enjoyable. You know, like one of the games we played this weekend was $12 a ticket, and you and I have been kind of resentful of the fact that it wasn't better.
Yeah, typically how the minimum GenCon pricing works, at least I assume, because I've never seen games priced lower than this, is you have a minimum of $2 per game, and you have a minimum of $1 per hour. So a 2-hour game is going to cost $2. A 1-hour game also has to cost $2, and anything above that you can go at a $2 increment, basically.
Yeah. So, you know, for example, if it's a 4-hour game,
it'll cost $4.
$4. That's like the minimum you're allowed to charge.
Yeah. And I also think it only goes up in iterations of 2, just because the generic tickets they give you are $2 each, which I'm sure was $1 at one point, and then they were like, nah, that's not expensive enough. We're just going to do $2 increments, so you can only leap between those two. So basically, it's rounded to the nearest 2 hours going down or up, whichever way to consider that. So a 3-hour game would also be $4.
Yeah. And then you can just choose to charge more if you want to.
Yeah, and some groups do. We tend to focus on games that don't, because the GMs here are so variable that I really don't want to pay more than minimal price if I don't know what I'm getting.
Like last year, one of the things I did was a game of Starfinder.
Yep.
And that year, they were charging $10 for a 4-hour session. You know, more than the minimum, not awful. This year I didn't. This year I could. You know, there were enough games running. I could have played Starfinder all weekend if I'd wanted to. I didn't want to pay $22 for every 4-hour session. Like, that's highway robbery. Yeah. I know Paizo's struggling financially at the moment, but that's not a way to fix it, guys.
Yeah. And these are the real disasters of Gen Con I feel like we should be talking about, as opposed to tornadoes, which can happen at any con and obviously are bad. But that's more of a problem with like climate change and less of a problem with convention organizing.
Yeah. So yeah. Like we have a lot of high-level problems with this con ultimately. And short of completely revamping the way they do a lot of stuff, there ain't any fixing this.
Yeah. Like, I did feel the magic a little bit on Friday and Saturday a lot. Like that con happy fuzzy feeling. Unfortunately, on Thursday and Sunday, that was mostly gone for me.
Yeah. So, as we said, we swung by the con on Wednesday evening, specifically because we needed to pick up some generic tickets and didn't want to deal with the giant, ridiculous line that is the will call line on any other day.
So generics are basically tickets that you can use to get into any game. Sometimes games will have open spots. Some people also just straight up walk up to games that have empty spots and just put in generics. Mm-hmm. I think we know a friend of a friend that's going and was trying this year with a just generic strategy, which does work if you just want an RPG at various time slots and don't care terribly much about which one you get. Yeah. And I think our friend Betty also had some generics to pick up generally. And Wednesday night, it did not take terribly long. Although we did pay $15 for parking. Yeah,
but at GenCon, $15 for parking is incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
Most of the lots around it were $50 a day.
Yeah. This was definitely the year you need to pre-book your parking, because all of the lots were sold out Thursday and Friday. I think they only started to have openings on Saturday for whatever reason. So
that was a bit weird.
I think it was mostly just they got so many pre-reservations, they weren't sure how much of the lot was going to be taken up by pre-reservations at any given time. And I think by Saturday they actually had a count enough that they could trust that they could get people in if they didn't have pre-reservations.
Yeah,
but that's a guess.
That is a theory. It's one that does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, we went in, picked up the generics we needed. Did we do any exchanging at that point, or no?
Not at that point, no. We just picked up generics because I was too tired to exchange anything.
Yeah.
Also, because of how Gen Con works, they're in this weird hybrid system right now where they have half paper tickets and half electronic tickets.
Yeah, we were having conversations with a couple of people who run at Gen Con, and the going consensus is Gen Con as an organization wants to switch over to completely electronic tickets. But there are a bunch of people who've been going to GenCon for like the past 40 years who refuse to accept that electronic tickets are a thing that could work and insist on paper.
Which is weird because it's 2026, guys. You should have done this 10 years ago at
Yeah.
the latest.
And the interesting thing is that one of those groups is clearly the Pathfinder Starfinder Society, because they had a bunch of signs up that said paper tickets only.
Yeah, well, they can suck my you-know-what. So with electronic tickets, they're more convenient for a couple of reasons. One, you can basically get them and return them at any time. I think the only time you can't return them is after the game is over. Mm-hmm. So you can shift in and out of games as you want generally. It also means you can get into games at any time. Whereas if you have paper tickets, one, you can typically only exchange them at one of the kiosks, generally before the game. You can't just not use them. And if you want to trade them in for an electronic ticket, you have to turn in that paper ticket. You also can't return the paper tickets after a certain time. If you are in the GenCon ticketing scrum, your badge and your paper tickets will be mailed to you.
If you pay the extra, have them mailed to you. For the love of God, do that.
Do that.
You do not want to be waiting in the will call line. It will literally take 4 hours.
Yep.
Like, it's like an extra $15 to have it mailed to you, but do it.
Just do it.
Like, you're already going to be paying a boatload for this con. You are literally saving yourself hours.
You don't want to be spending time at this con with how much it costs waiting in line. You can try to aim to go at off times, but even if you try to do that, because they are open from like 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. In the mornings, the next day, you get it.
Yeah.
So you can try to go in off times, but even that's not a guarantee. I saw that line insanely long at extraordinarily weird times of day because everyone was trying to do that, so...
Yep. Like, you can guarantee around the time the con opens is going to be absolutely hellish for that line. And other than that, it's just going to be kind of random and you're not going to know. Like, I'll say this, the ticket exchange line was usually pretty short, but the will call line was a mess frequently at unpredictable times. And that's not it. Like, for the record, I am not in any way calling out the people working will call. It's just, there are literally thousands of people trying to, get their stuff. And the staff working will call can only work so fast.
Yeah. And they did have a lot of people working will call. All of them, like, our people were very nice, and they were like talking to us about what we're gonna do and costumes and things like that. But we did go at like off times, and it was not crowded.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the GenCon volunteers and like the lower level people just actually working the con, I think we're doing a fantastic job this weekend.
Which is a huge compliment generally, because I'm sure that's one of the most stressful, largely volunteer jobs in the world.
So we did that on Wednesday, then we went back to our Airbnb. So 2 weeks ago, we were in an Airbnb that was like Gothic haunted.
Yep.
This week, we were in an Airbnb that was like liminal space Eldritch haunted.
So yeah, as mentioned, the Airbnb we actually wanted was canceled, so we had to get one that was 30 minutes away from the venue in Fisher, Illinois.
Yep. This one was an apartment on the 5th floor of an apartment building.
That seemed to have no tenants.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
And had a very weird long hallway that led to this living room that was also huge, but only had furniture in half of it.
Basically, this one was real weird.
Yep.
But it was clean and it was,
It was a nice enough amount of space, given that there were 3 of us there. It said it slept up to 7 people, and I do believe you could probably fit about 7 people in it comfortably.
Yeah, you'd need a couple of air mattresses, but you could make it work.
Yep.
But yeah. And it did at least have covered parking, which was nice. Especially on Saturday. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, went back to the Airbnb, ate, collapsed, might be bloody blue.
Like, we knew for this con in particular, especially with where Betty got the parking, which, no shade to them, very fabulous place to park. It's just because it was right across from the convention center and those roads get congested. We needed to be there early every day because I can't do stop traffic downtown. You also hate it.
I hate downtown driving.
So we wanted to get there before the scrum, which means, like, you need to be there by 8 at the absolute latest. Plus, we had games that started at 8 just because...
Literally every day.
Yep.
Because we're idiots.
Yep.
So basically we were getting up at 6 a.m. every day, getting dressed, getting on the road, and generally we were managing to get parked by, 7:30? And yeah, we prepaid the parking on this one specifically. Betty actually was the one who got the parking garage for us. Thank you, Betty. And we just split the cost with them. Like, it was
In exchange, they paid less for the Airbnb, and they paid for the parking anyway. Adult problems.
adulting. But yeah, that was a fine arrangement that we were happy with. So, and yeah, it says that when we got there on day one, there was a queue to get into the parking garage, and they were turning a bunch of people away. Whereas because we had prepaid parking, they're like, okay, what time does your prepaid parking start? 7 a.m. Okay, yeah, you can come in. Like, okay, beep.
Yeah, particularly on that day, I think just because this was when people were starting to realize a lot of the main garages next to the building that typically have open spaces were sold out.
Were either sold out. I think I know there's a bunch of construction going on, so I think some of them were just inaccessible.
Yeah. Which there's pretty much always construction going on in downtown Indianapolis, so at least during summer. So it took us a while to get into the parking lot just because they were turning people away who didn't have free reservations, but we did. It worked fine to get in.
Yep. So we parked up. Hilariously, because we were using the same car park all weekend, we ended up with the exact same spot all 4 days.
Yep.
Just because I got that spot on day one. And we were like, okay, this kind of works for us. It's undercover. It gets us in. It's not too bad of a walk. We can make this work. And then the next day I pulled in and I was like, okay, same spot as last time, because I think that seemed to work. And everyone was like, yeah, sure, that works. And, next 2 days that spot was also free again. So we were like, okay, cool. Same spot all 4 days. This works.
And yeah, it was covered, and it also connected. The Indianapolis Convention Center was basically designed around GenCon. It has a bunch of connected hotels, and also the sports stadium is connected to it, and you can walk across entirely indoors.
Which is very nice.
Especially this week. Yeah. So this parking lot, you just walked up the stairs and you were in the Westin. And then you could walk over the Sky Bridge back into the hotel, which would connect you to pretty much anywhere without you having to go outside, which as a cosplayer, love.
Yep.
And as somebody who doesn't like being covered in rain, also love.
Yeah. What were you on Thursday?
What did I wear on Thursday?
Is that the purple one?
The purple one?
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Can you be more detailed?
Purple dress.
Yeah, there was the purple dress with the floral pattern. I did the eyeshadow tattoos I have.
Yeah.
Which were cute.
Yeah. So, you were in, as per usual, a ball gown.
Yep.
Which again, a lot of people got a kick out of this weekend.
Especially.
At least a couple of people thought you were probably slightly crazy, but...
it's fun for me.
Yep.
Because GenCon is less of a, cosplay con. I tend to go form with OC characters and just fun stuff to wear as opposed to all-out characters, except for Sunday.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I feel like I saw more cosplay this year than last year. Now,
I think that helps because we were walking past what I think was the cosplay parade in the opposite direction, and we saw a lot that day.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, the other thing is, because... like the author of Dungeon Crawler Carl was here and they were doing a bunch of stuff with the Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG, which is just coming out. Like, there were a lot of people dressed up as Carl this weekend.
Yeah, if you remember from last year, by the way, I think we mentioned probably in our, LeaveCon Indie episode or something like that. That was a one-year convention that happened. That we went explicitly so we could check out the convention center because we knew we were going to GenCon that year.
Yep.
And it says something that when we did that, a couple of staff asked if we were lost or anything because we were just in parts of the convention center that weren't being used but were publicly accessible space. And we're like, no, we're just scoping out because we want to understand where everything is for GenCon.
And they basically said, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. If you've got any questions, let us know.
Yep.
Because this GenCon is the biggest thing that this convention center handles, and I suspect it's a bit of an all-hands-on-deck thing for the staff.
Yeah, and if it's your first year at GenCon, it's very overwhelming generally. Not that it's not overwhelming other years, but if you do not know where you're going, it's even more stressful. Yeah.
It's kind of a problem.
Yeah. I will say their online app, which we did download to access our ticket schedule since we had a lot of e-tickets this year, and the number of e-tickets has been growing.
Yeah. As I guarantee you within the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to move away from paper tickets entirely.
Yeah. I hope so. Please, God. It'd be so much easier. But the schedule also has, if you click on your events that are on your schedule, you can click on them and look at what hotel they're in and access a map of how to get to that hotel. Which I do think is very helpful.
Oh yeah. Again, the actual the problem is there's a bunch of stuff GenCon does really, really well, and a lot of stuff that GenCon does terribly. And it's kind of like trying to thread the needle on the the praise and the criticism.
Yeah.
But the app actually was surprisingly good. Like you could exchange tickets in it. You could click on if you clicked on a specific event and then clicked on the thing that said where it was, it would just take you to the map and show you exactly which room it was in. It was like, this is super helpful. Thank you. So like a lot of good, sensible stuff in there.
Yep.
So yeah. So, what do we do first? Oh, yeah, I remember what we did first.
Yep.
On Thursday. So the con did not start off well.
No. You're going to have to explain this one. Sorry.
So one of the events that we tried to get into, it was literally, I think, second or third on everybody's wish lists.
Yep.
Was Lord of the Rings, Oops, All Lesbians.
Yep.
Because why would you not want to play a game called Lord of the Rings, Oops, All Lesbians?
Yeah.
It was a Thirsty Sword Lesbians game being hosted in the gamers room.
Yep.
And generally speaking, we tend to enjoy events that are in the gamers room because, with the best one in the world, the GMs are not straight white men.
Yeah. But it's also difficult when you have 3 people generally, because how this worked was we didn't get that ticket in the initial scrum. I kept refreshing the page till a ticket popped up and then directed Betty to get it. And then I told Betty they should just take the ticket. It was theirs in a technical sense. I, in some weird sense, maybe got it for them somewhat, but they cared more about Lord of the Rings than I did. So I'm just like, I'm going to let them have this. Yeah. But they really wanted me to play with them. So we went to the gamers room to see if we could scrounge a free ticket.
Yeah. Not even a free ticket.
Well, not free, just being able to join the game.
Yeah. Because again, we had generics.
Yep.
We could have paid for it that way, which again is fine. And we basically got told, we got there about 10 minutes before it was due to start. And the guy at the front was like, well, you can sit and wait and see if none of the players turn up. Yeah, it's not a great way to handle that.
I get that there's not a lot of ways you can handle that, which is why I don't tend to like blagging off into games that I don't have tickets for a lot of the time, because it just puts everyone in an awkward situation. But I knew it was important to Betty, and I didn't want to play.
Yep.
And I wish I could have played, because it sounded like they had a blast.
Yep.
But instead I just had to kind of awkwardly sit there and wait, and keep in mind that they give people who have tickets a grace period, which I can't understand, and they didn't all show up at 8 when the game was supposed to start, but they showed up 15 minutes after it was supposed to start.
Yeah.
Which is also annoying, because then I can't go play a different game.
We were basically right at the point when we were about to go and say, okay, looks like you're down 2 players at the very, can we join? And then the last 2 players turned up.
Which for me is massively, massively triggering at a convention where you're already overstimulated.
And we want to clarify, the GM in particular did absolutely nothing wrong in this situation.
This is the thing, is they have one person manning the room, and rather than asking GMs what they would prefer, they just kind of make judgment calls based on that.
Yeah, I freely admit, if I'd been that guy, I would have basically said, GM's over there, you can go ask them the question, because ultimately it should be their call. Because we've had GMs before where a table is full and somebody tells us oh, hey, I was hoping I could get into this generics. And they've gone, yeah, sure, let me steal an extra chair from over there. And there are some GMs who are like, I'd love to have you, but I set this game for 6 and there's only 6 characters.
And there's some people who just prefer more table balance, and I do understand that generally. We thought there might be more luck this year just because last time we entered the gamers hall, they just added more people by asking the GM, because the GM was just sure. So, yeah.
But yeah. So, we didn't get off to a great start because that kind of hit you right in a really bad trigger point.
And it's a little bit hard because I feel to some extent I think it's okay to talk about this.
Yeah.
I do feel like I was sacrificing a lot of my wants for the wants of my friend this weekend a little bit. And I am glad they had a great time, because I know they had a way worse time than we did last year, but it did get a little bit frustrating at a couple points, and this is one of them. Yeah. Is that fair?
That's fair. Again, it's part of the problem with the way GenCon system just works.
I do not think it's this friend's fault at all.
No.
But I probably wouldn't have even bothered trying to get in. I probably would have just given them the ticket and assumed I wasn't going to get in. And I think that would have been easier for me than doing this.
So we basically ended up having to like go find a quiet space, which is not easy at GenCon.
It is easier at 8 a.m. at GenCon on
Yeah.
Thursday, to be fair. We just went in one of the seminar rooms and just stayed there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And by the way, crying at GenCon is a surprisingly common activity.
Yeah, you are not the only person I saw crying this weekend. In fact, today we saw somebody actively like crying and like leaving one of the buildings. You know, I hope that person is okay.
I do too. Like, I do think people at Gen Con, probably because they've experienced similar stuff, do understand this well enough that if you hear somebody crying in a private space, it's best to just kind of leave them alone if they're not asking for help. Because what most people are trying to do is just get to a space where they're not going to bother anyone else to cry. Which is what I tried to do generally, but it wasn't a great start to stuff, and it took me a while to kind of reset generally.
Yeah. And again, I don't even necessarily think anybody did anything wrong.
No, I just don't think I generally like blacking off tickets in games that are full. Like, I just don't. Like, I like knowing what my schedule is going to be because it's less stressful.
Yeah. Which again is why this weekend ended up being a lot more like stressful and kind of lousy than we wanted it to be.
Yeah. What's that? And it's just like, you know, it's hard to know a lot of the times. Like, I hope everyone has fun at their games, but it's hard to know what games people really want versus which ones they're just putting on their schedule just because.
Yeah, like there was stuff that was on our wish list like 50 or around the like 40 to 50 mark, and we were like, we need to finish up this wish list.
Yeah.
This seems like of the 3 or 4 things we were looking at, this one seems reasonable.
Well, there were a couple tables that we could only get one ticket for, including our next game, that like some people clearly got tickets for, either because their friend wanted to or just because they thought they needed something for this time slot. And when you showed up with me, they were like legitimately, not because they felt pity or anything, were like, you know what, actually I didn't even really want to play this, you just take my seat.
Yeah, that happened at least 3 times this weekend.
Yeah.
3? 2?
I think at least 2. Yeah. So one of which was the next game.
One of this was the next game. Yeah, so the first game we actually played was Quest Giver.
Yeah.
The Taskmaster themed RPG.
Yep.
Which again, this was just one person's passion project. And for the record, the best games at Gen Con are always one person's weird passion project. Yep. You know, so if you are unfamiliar with it, Taskmaster is a originally British game show in which a group of comedians are given very stupid things to do as tasks, and then they watch them in the studio and they get given points based on how terribly they did. Mm-hmm. It's fairly light, it's fairly fun, it's fairly stupid, but it's very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So this was basically themed around a fantasy version of that.
Yep.
And to give you a sense of how much prep this GM had done, they had created character sheets for basically every past Taskmaster contestant.
Yep.
All of which had pun names.
Yeah.
Like, one of the other players at the table took Noel Fielding.
Yep. There was a James Spellcaster who I think was a popular choice.
Yep. I don't think they were in our game.
They were not in our game, but they're one of the, I think, James A. is just a very over-the-top flamboyant comedian who is able to make meltdowns funny. Mm-hmm. Anyone can make meltdowns funny is awesome because it's hard to go that big and keep it be funny, and he does such a good job with it generally.
Yep. You know, to quote him when he was on Great British Bake Off, started baking, had a meltdown, bon appetit.
Basically. That's basically his entire comedic stick is him just having meltdowns. Mm-hmm. But it works so well.
Yep. Yeah. So I initially wasn't sure if I was going to be in this game.
Yep.
So I kind of loitered at the table for a while, and then one of the other players was running quite late.
Apparently they were doing True Dungeon before this and had games back to back.
Mm-hmm. And their friend eventually was like, look, you take their ticket, they're just going to watch, it's fine. I was like, okay, cool, thank you.
I saw them messaging them to make sure that was okay.
Yeah. And I basically just said, thank you very much, and then I looked at the gym and said, do you have a Rod Gilbert somewhere in there? And she was like, yes, I do.
Yeah, I just made my own character because I didn't want the pressure of copying anyone's comedic stylings or anything. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do my own thing, so I just became my own little chaos pixie.
Yep.
And this used the Roll for Shoes system, which is a silly RPG system that allows you to basically try to get stuff out of a magic bag that may or may not be useful for which you roll for, and
Yep.
then you roll do thing. And
Yep.
if you succeed at do thing, which I think is you succeed if you get above the GM.
Yep.
And who's always rolling against you on just a basic 6-sided die. And then if you roll a 6 on the natural 6-sided die at whatever thing, you then become proficient in not do thing, but in the specific thing you were trying to do.
Yeah, which allows you to roll additional dice. The thing is, what you were doing is usually so specific that the
Yep.
actual skill will very rarely be useful again.
Yeah, for reference, you can also like make the skill slightly different. So for instance, I somehow rolled a 6 on summoning the Canadian rapper Drake, which then also allowed me to summon a male duck.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're supposed to play the game.
It's quite silly.
Yep.
But it is, I think it was the right kind of silly for a Taskmaster-based game.
It was very silly. And these tasks were supposedly timed and giving out points for like fastest wins and stuff like that. They tried to use a timer. I don't really think that wound up working at a con game.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of random, but it also, the points don't matter. It's Taskmaster. Like, no one cares who wins.
Yeah. And again, honestly, my only piece of feedback for them, if they are ever going to run it again, is I would have liked to do a couple of team tasks as well, which is another thing that you get in the show, purely because we were all like doing each thing individually. There wasn't a chance for a lot of like RP or a lot of like collaboration. Whereas I think if we'd had a team task or two in addition to the individual tasks, we would have had the chance to do that. Mm-hmm. But like, we're in the wonderful world of when my main criticism of a game is more of this, please.
Yep.
Then you did a good job. Like this was also kind of the reset we needed after the crappy start to the day, and it didn't like completely balance out our equilibrium, but we needed this. So thank you.
I think part of the problem, and this is unfortunately a reoccurring problem with GenCon, is I do not feel safe with GMs.
No.
Here, I just don't. There's been too many bad experiences at this point for me to feel safe with GMs. Now, I will say femme presenting GMs, because they've pretty much never caused a problem for me, I tend to feel more safer with. Mm-hmm. Male presenting GMs, less so.
Yeah.
And you can argue with me that that's bias, but it's a bias that has a basis. So,
yep.
Yeah. And that's not to say all male GMs are bad, but if you come at me in the comments for that, I swear to God.
Yeah. Now, this is just a case of you've had bad experiences.
Yep.
Some of them this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. We will get to that. But yeah, like, that is not to say this GM was in any way bad or problematic. This GM was great. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's harder for you to find your equilibrium at this con because I do feel like more than any other convention, you are really rolling the dice at GenCon.
Yep.
With regards to what kind of GM you get.
Yeah.
Like, if you are playing with somebody who, again, like, it's their weird passion project, and they were just like, yeah, I came up with this dumb idea, and I really wanted to see if I could make it work,
yep.
You are probably going to have a great time, like we did with this game.
Yeah.
Like, this person had actually, like, printed off Taskmaster-style letters and then put wax seals on them.
Yep.
You don't do that unless you really care.
Yeah.
In fact, they had to reprint them, apparently, because the wax they used the first time wasn't good enough quality wax. They had to get better quality wax.
Well, I love that they created with their children. Like, when I run the Bard RPG, like, I show everyone the bards that all, like, my friends from the various people who have played the game with me have played them, and they love looking at the sheets, even though they don't choose the character, just because, like, it's not me making them. It's not me trying to balance a party. It's all of my friends trying to, like, make a cool like character who's a bard, and people love that because it's real in kind of a deep way. Yeah. In the same way, like, I can tell her kids helped her with all the pun names for the comedians, and I can tell her family loves watching Taskmaster together, and that's just awesome.
It is.
Now I'm crying a little bit, but it's been an emotional weekend.
Sorry, that you were talking about the various bards that people made. I will always adore Pile Driver Pards now.
Yep.
The strength-based bard, specifically because he's just a professional wrestler.
Yep.
Is he a Leonin?
I think so.
Yeah. But it's just like, that concept is fabulous, and I adore the person who did that. So anyway, no, this was a really good game. I enjoyed it. It definitely ran a little short, and as I say, I think a couple of team tasks.
Team tasks, adding a little bit more in there, but I also don't generally tend to mind when con games, like a couple people were commenting on the tip, I don't feel rushed, and it's kind of nice to experience a con game where you just don't have to feel rushed.
Yeah, that's also a perk.
Plus, it meant that we got to do an extra game that day a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things about Gen Con is because everything's hour and it doesn't let you counter schedule stuff. Sometimes games do run short and you do something else on your schedule during the time slot. And I don't feel bad about that because I'm paying with the tickets and it's my right not to show up. So whatever.
So yeah.
I'm aware that GMs quote unquote don't get paid if you don't turn your tickets in, but that's not my fault. Gen Con should just change that policy because it's dumb.
Yeah, that is an awful policy.
Like, why does that exist? What does that mean? We already paid you for the tickets. What does it matter if we're at the table or not?
Who knows? So yeah. So what did we do next?
I did Whisperstone.
Ah, yes.
So this was a puzzly adventure game. This was a 2-hour game. Sometimes they put in 2-hour games just to kind of fill up the schedule a little bit. So this was in the West End, and like 2-hour games are a little bit harder to find. Generally, the vast majority of RPGs tend to be 4-hour time slots. A few tend to be 3-hour time slots, even if they go shorter. And then 2-hour time slots are pretty rare, and there's not a lot in 2-hour time slots that is that fun type of homebrew type stuff. It's more often gaming companies demoing stuff, which is what this kind of was.
Yeah.
Which is meant to be kind of a sort of, I'll read the description, I guess, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, no pencils, no papers needed, just your imagination. The role-playing will be faster. It says solving puzzles in the forest was its main mechanic. You play as like a cute little animal and attempt to solve puzzles in the forest, generally. They intended it to be kind of tactile, where, like, one of the mechanics is you can only carry a certain amount of stuff in your backpack. And your backpack is like a square, and it's different sizes for the different classes, generally, in terms of how much they can carry, and you have to, like, Tetris fit pieces in, which might be kind of fun in a longer campaign. Although, retrospectively in a longer campaign, I don't know exactly how you remember what's in each pack. I guess you would have to, like, separate it out and sort it out.
Or take a picture at the end of a session or something like that.
Yeah, and, like, you fit everything together on a little board, so you can pick up weapons, and the weapons fit to the side, in theory, of your little board. Same with clothing. You put the clothing on, and it has to be able to fit into the slots on your characters, and different character classes have different, like, ridges and rungs, because it's all meant to be a puzzle piece to fit together, which in theory is an interesting idea. Mm-hmm. In practice, I will say that the boards they had didn't seem kind of prototypey insofar as most of the pieces didn't actually fit how they were supposed to do. And I will admit, it's an interesting concept. I don't really know if it's something that, like, I feel like the RPG space needs, but maybe somebody who likes puzzles and also likes RPGs would really like it. And it's more on the cozier side, although there are death mechanics and fight mechanics. I do feel like it's kind of trying to do a little bit too much, because there's just a lot kind of going on all at once with it in terms of, like, combat and social solutions and things like that. And also because this was a demo game, the person running it definitely did not fully understand how it worked. They were doing their best and were patient, but it did kind of bog the game down a little bit, because it wasn't their passion project. It was just part of their gaming company's passion project, and they were told to run it on that day. And they were perfectly nice in trying their best, I want to emphasize, but it's just not as much fun. There are also supposedly puzzles for you to solve, but again, I don't know how this, like, because this is a set-like adventure and adventure board, it does feel like an RPG that has kind of a limited life, and one that you would have to be using a book to kind of play. Mm. Like, I did have fun with it. There were a group of 3 friends who were playing with me, who all came to GenCon together. 2 of them were sisters. And they very much included me in the RP, and we had fun together. And it was pretty RP-light, but they were nice, and it was fun. It was, like, fine. I was a little bit hesitant to have you leave, just because I hadn't quite hit equilibrium yet, but after I got a little bit more comfortable, I did. You saw parts of this. I don't know if you had any thoughts on it.
Again, like, I saw it at the beginning, and I could definitely see, like, you were struggling to, like, get stuff to fit together the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Because, again, I do think that, like, it needs a little bit more, like, quality control in terms of its, like, you know, if you've ever had one of those puzzles where, like, you know, the edges are just a little thicker than they should be.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I think it might have been a prototype of the game. I hope they're not selling that version, though, because if the main stick is the game is a puzzle, I would expect it to be a little bit higher quality than that, so the mechanic of stuff fitting together, which is kind of the game's main selling point, could be a little bit more explicit.
Yeah. So yeah, while you were doing that, I did the obvious thing and just, like, I wandered the vendors hall for a bit. Because again, getting you into the vendors hall at GenCon is difficult. It's doable, but it's difficult.
Yeah. Plus,
So,
everyone in the GenCon vendors hall just looks pissed off perpetually because of how hard it is to navigate the GenCon vendors hall.
and again, like one of the things I was trying to do this weekend is you want a copy of Glitter Hearts.
Yep.
So I was trying to see if anybody there had one. Yeah, if you're looking for one specific thing in the vendors hall of GenCon, you're boned.
Yeah, I guarantee you that probably was in there somewhere. We just never wound up finding it.
Yeah. Now, if it's a case of, oh, you have a specific vendor you want to visit, they do actually have a map in the app that's very good that tells you exactly what stall it's at. Like, it's laid out very logically in like numbered rows. Like, again, there's a lot of stuff here that makes a lot of sense. It's just, if you're looking for a specific thing, good luck. So yeah, mostly I just kind of wandered around. I specifically went to visit a friend of ours, who we know from some of the FurCons, who was working with Pointy Hat Games.
Yep.
And specifically, they were manning a puppet of a pointed wizard's hat.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I didn't wind up seeing them when they were manning the puppet.
Yeah, sorry about that. But so I got chatted to by a pointy wizard's hat. So we had a brief chin wag, and I sort of let them get back to it. But thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we saw a couple vendors hall friends. It is difficult to talk to vendors hall friends, especially at GenCon, because I'm sure their booths cost a lot of money, and I don't want to take away any time from them actually selling products to people.
Yeah, so I tried to get out of their way before too long. But it was very, very good to see them, now and again. Thank you very much. But yeah. So...
hey, we're back in Ohio.
Not quite. Actually, we must be.
Like, there's a giant sign that says "Welcome to Ohio." I assume that means we're in Ohio.
Well, again, technically, I think anytime I see one of those giant "Welcome to" a particular state signs, it usually means you're technically in the state once you cross under the sign, like we just did.
So we're in Ohio. See, that was just the build-up to us being in Ohio.
That's fair. I was just going to say, I feel like we might have been in Ohio very slightly earlier because the road quality noticeably went up.
That's true.
Because the roads in Indiana goddamn suck.
Yep.
And the roads in Ohio aren't exactly brilliant. They're perfectly fine. The ones in Indiana are just awful. So yeah, I did that. I wandered around. While I was searching to see anywhere that might sell Glitter Hearts, I did happen to notice that 9th Level Games had a booth here, so I quickly swung by there just to say hi. Said hi to a friend of ours who was manning that booth. Had a conversation that basically meant to do GenCon.
Yep. It was pretty much this is the thing, because I feel like on Thursday everyone was struggling to find their equilibrium and just be like, okay, we're here now. Oh God.
Yep. And again, I know there are some people for whom this is their one and only con. Like, one of the people who's at our table for Quest Giver, their spouse apparently went to opening ceremonies and won a raffle that got them a VIP badge to next year. And I think they had a moment of, oh God, that means we actually have to come back next year. Because they had to fly.
Yep. Yeah, I think they were West Coasters.
So they had to fly for it, which means even with a VIP badge, it's still going to be an expense for them to come next year.
I also have so many questions. We've never gone to GenCon's opening ceremonies and probably never will. But I have so many questions about what it's like. Probably see if I can find a YouTube video on it or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many people, either it's ridiculously packed or 5 people attend.
Yeah, that's kind of the only options, isn't it?
Yep.
So yeah. So, I basically did that for about an hour, got completely overwhelmed, saw a couple of... this is the thing, I saw some cool stuff, and there was a few things in the vendors hall this year that I might have wanted to buy if, we hadn't been deliberately trying to save money this year. But, finding anything you actually specifically want, unless you know exactly which booth you're going to, is definitely a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Because there is just so much stuff.
Yeah. I didn't even think we went through the entire thing this year. There were definitely some sections that we just didn't go through.
Let's face it, I spent a decent chunk of the weekend bemoaning to you the fact that there aren't any good steampunk miniatures. And then on Sunday, we happened to walk past one booth that I'd somehow not seen in the previous 3 days. I go, oh, are those steampunk miniatures?
Yeah, and we definitely walked past that booth 4 times.
Yeah. We walked past that booth at least once before. And just so much going on that I hadn't noticed them previously.
Well, it's overstimulated. It's hard with all the people. It's just a mess. So, Like, it's not a place I enjoy shopping. Like, they actually do have some cool, like, clothing booths up that sell, like, corset-fitted stuff. And if I was at a con that wasn't packed, I would look at them. But I'm not buying clothing, particularly corset-fitted clothing, at a con like GenCon, because I'm not going to have any time to actually check its quality.
Mm-hmm. I'd definitely not try it on.
Yep.
Again, when I bought, or when you bought me it, my corseted waistcoat at, where was
Concoction.
That was Concoction, wasn't it? At Concoction, like, because that was a slightly quieter event, Concoction being slightly quieter than GenCon, I had time to chat with the person at the stall and, like, consider options and, like, go away and come back and go, okay, yes, I think, I've gone away, I've thought about it, and I think we want it.
I was picturing some extraordinarily weird mix-up where all 80,000 people who went to GenCon accidentally went to Concoction instead, and less than 1,000 people who went to Concoction went to GenCon.
No,
How funny
that would be very funny.
How confused everyone would be. For the record, that's not even something that can conceptually happen,
but it would be funny.
It is funny.
But yeah. So, yeah. So again, like, Ventus Hall at GenCon, completely goddamn overwhelming and ridiculous.
Yep.
Like, laid out about as sensibly as it could be, but so much. Like, it is completely overwhelming. Like, I've really admit, one of the things I wanted to do at this GenCon was look at, because this is the only place I have ever seen Forge World stuff, and if you're a Warhammer fan, you know what that means, sold in person, outside of Warhammer World back in the UK. Because generally speaking, that stuff's mail order only. Outside of, again, Warhammer World, which is Games Workshop's actual headquarters in the UK. So this is the only place I know that sells it in person. There was a few things I was like, oh, at the very least, I'd like to look at them. Like, I can't justify buying any more Warhammer stuff at the moment, but it would have been fun to look. But, like, again, thousands of people trying to look, and, like, it's basically... I find it impossible to do shopping at GenCon generally unless you know specifically what you're trying to get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, anywho, I toddled back, and I think I got back, like, I don't know, 20 minutes before your game ended?
A little bit. You hung out on the side for a bit, and I was starting to reach equilibrium. Like, I felt comfortable at the table. Like, it wasn't a game I particularly enjoyed, but I also didn't dislike it, so it was fine.
Yeah.
Good way to spend 2 hours.
Yeah.
It felt worth the $2 I paid for it.
Yeah. So sometimes fine is all you need in that situation.
Yeah, fine's not actively psychologically harmful, which is apparently the bar for this con sometimes.
Yeah.
Am I throwing too much shade?
No, it's valid. Oh, we've only got 2.5 hours left on this drive. We probably should get on with it.
That's still plenty of time.
Yeah, I know.
Plus, we're in a traffic jam right now.
Yeah. So was the next thing Fatebound?
Yes, it was Dragon Ate My Homework.
Yes.
I really like this GM.
I adored this GM. Like, sometimes you just encounter a GM where it's just like their energy is really infectious, and that's very much what I got from this GM.
And it was a GM we very much needed at that moment.
Yeah.
It just kind of brought us into GenCon in all the right ways.
Yep.
Like, I actively, like, looked at their other games because they were playing another Fatebound game to see if a ticket would open up, and they didn't, which was fine. But, like, I want to remember this GMs to know if they're GMing at future cons, I want to be in their games because they're that awesome.
They were. This game did end up running pretty short. Again, 4-hour time slot. I think it went for like 2.5 hours. That wasn't really on the GM though. That was just... So Fatebound is a system about being like teenage students in a magical school. And rather than using dice, it uses a tarot deck. And the way you crit in this game is by drawing 3 of the, quote, major arcana cards. And then you draw again to determine if it was a critical success or a critical failure. And you and I both crit succeeded in that game.
Yep.
Which kind of, let's just say, accelerated the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I think we were technically supposed to fight the paper dragon. We did not have to fight the paper dragon because we crit succeeded too hard on the, like, persuading it to do stuff for us checks.
Yeah, well, it was a game where you were supposed to uncover a mystery, and we just crit succeeded on checks. Like, you shouldn't ever hide things in a mystery behind rolls, but it's fine to use rolls to, like, be complications to find those things, and I think that was what those rolls were supposed to be, or card draws, I guess. And we just crit succeeded on them in a way that just kind of skipped over a lot of the plot.
But again, this GM rolled with it.
Yep.
It was like, well, there goes that plan.
Yep.
Okay.
And this, I do like, we wound up picking up Fatebound at this con, because I do like it. I mean, I do. My one con to it is, like, it's a system where you have to use a Terra deck, and that you have to buy Terra decks if you want to run it.
We want to run this one on the Catacon, or you're planning to run this one on the Catacon, which is going to mean we're going to have to buy a bunch of Terra decks.
Yes.
Right. I've checked. We can get some fairly cheapish ones that are fairly easy to read on Amazon for like $12 a go. So it's not awful. Like, dice cost about that much.
Yeah.
But why are there so many cops on the road today? Why are they pulling so many people over?
I'm probably just happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's definitely not helping with the traffic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely also a game that you can play, like, either more seriously or more sillily, depending on where you go with it, generally. Like, I would do where I brought the game of the tone a little too far into silly territory with my character, but everyone seemed to be enjoying it. So
the game was called The Dragon Ate My Homework.
That's fair.
I feel like the tone of this one was established fairly early.
I made my character based off Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
I also really like that the GM did this technique of asking people questions about how their character felt a lot of the time, which I liked a lot. It's kind of an opening thing where they would ask them characters about questions about their character, which I really love as a role-playing technique.
Yeah, I might steal that.
To kind of establish who their character was a little bit and think through it.
Yeah.
But I did summon Well-Balanced Breakfast, which...
I mean, that broke the GM, but it was very funny.
It was.
Whereas my character was like this fairly serious, like, ancient lineage descended from the archdruid Mordred, thing. Because again, I've been on an Arthurian kick recently in terms of, like, when I'm creating characters for Magic games. So I did one that was very literally meant to be Merlin for when we played Queer Covenant Origins. I did a distant descendant of Mordred, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something with Morgan Le Fay next time. So we'll see if I get the opportunity to do that.
Yep.
If I end up playing at one of your games at Catacon, I might do a character based on Morgan Le Fay.
That'd be fun.
Yep. Or maybe Nimue. I've got options.
You're really obsessed with the Arthurian legends.
I like Arthurian myth.
I would like to explore doing Fatebound in a more serious setting. I do think this worked better than the first time we played it, just because it took us a little while to get the ropes in, generally. Although I think the GM was also good there.
Yeah. I think the problem we had when we played it at Origins was it took quite a long time to do the character creation because we had to, like, pass around the rulebook. Whereas here, this GM had created, like, a little like how-to guide to character creation, which sped everything up a lot, which very much appreciated. That was a good call, and he mentioned the fact that he's basically trying to get the company, because again, they all kind of work for the company that owns this game. He was like encouraging them to like print this as an official thing. I would like them to do that. It was very useful for this con. If you just make this like a free insert or something, or even just a downloadable PDF, that anybody who wants to run this at a con can just print off, that'd be super helpful. Because I think when you run it at a Catacon, you're planning to pre-gen the characters.
Yeah, it is one that is crunchy enough with character creation that you probably would want to pre-gen the characters at a con.
Yeah.
A big part of this is also spell creation, which can be, I think, a little bit intimidating for people who are new, because you're expected to kind of create your own spells.
Yep.
I do think this GM did have a little bit better grasp on the fact that the spells are meant to kind of just be vague things that you use generally.
Yep.
Like, you can have a spell of invisibility, and how powerful that is and what that does just depends on the success of the cards you draw.
Yep.
Like, if you chose an invisibility spell, if you wanted to make one object invisible, then it would be like a draw of like one success.
Yep.
Whereas if you wanted to make, multiple people in the room invisible, that might be a draw of like 3 or 4 success.
Yeah. Or if you want to like make the entire school invisible, have fun with your 6 successes.
Yeah.
So again. But no, I adored this GM's energy. I really did.
Yeah, I want to play more of their games.
So do I.
Like, this was very fun. It was a great con reset, and I do really like this system, and I definitely want to run a game in it.
Yeah. And as you said, whether or not you use the like official lore or not, I don't think you've decided yet.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure that out. So, what do we do? Oh yeah. So after that, again, a little bit of a break before the next game, but we realized the next game was in the exact same room. Mm-hmm. So we kind of like planned to like we went out for a little bit, then we just kind of came back to the room and was like, hey, so our next game's also in here. Are you okay? We just kind of chill. And they were like, sure. You'll get, your game will be at that table. Feel free to just hang around until your GM gets here. And you're like, cool, thanks. Because again, I think they appreciated that sometimes you just need a quiet space to drink some caffeine.
Yep.
And I realized at that point that, you had one fewer sodas in the bag than I thought you did.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, and we're out of your soda. Okay. So we got up, walked out, past them, was like, ran out of caffeine, we'll be right back. And they said, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I did go into the vendor's hall briefly. I got overwhelmed in like 5 minutes, but I went in briefly.
Yep. Yeah, it was long enough to say hi to our friend.
Yeah.
Who was no longer, manning a pointy hat.
Yeah.
Sorry, you didn't get to see the hand puppet.
Yeah, I pretty much went in just far enough to see them.
Yep.
And then left.
Yep.
Because I could not do any more than that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Pointy Hat Games was quite near one edge.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't too hard to get you to them. But even that was a lot. Yep. So the last game of the day was Sorority Murders.
Correct.
Sorority Murders?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said that. I said correct.
Yeah, I was confirming that that's what it was called. I knew what the game was. I was just confirming I got the title right. And this is a horror-themed game that actually uses the same card draw tarot deck mechanics as Fatebound.
Yep.
About basically you are playing a group of young adult / late teen girls in a slasher movie, effectively. Yep. And supposedly at least several of you should probably die throughout the course of this, albeit the GM will rig it so you don't die until near the end.
Well, yeah, that's the point, because otherwise you don't get a new character or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and it makes the death, I guess, mean something. But our group, I think, was just actually sensible and didn't attack the killer ever pretty much directly, because it was clear that we weren't supposed to do that.
Yep. I
think it's mostly we got the investigation role, so it was clear how we were supposed to defeat the killer, so we just didn't bother with any other options besides that.
Yeah.
And this was also fun, like the GM's energy there. There was at least a little bit of role play in this one too, which I liked a little bit.
Yeah, we did run into a mild issue of one player kind of monopolizing the table a little bit. Insofar as like my character, their main perk was they were really good at investigating. They didn't get to do a lot of investigating because this other person kept doing it. But
my character, I wanted to be bait for one scene because they were like the classic final girl, like all these were final girl tropes.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to run away, be bait, and like run away because that's what my character was good at. And as opposed to me running away, I was bait, but then they ran away for me. Weirdly enough. And I don't think I think they were more just excited than they were trying to take over the game.
Yeah, it didn't feel malicious anyway. It was just they were a little overexcited, which again happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we've been at tables like that before, and this was.
I can also be like that sometimes, although I try to incorporate other people into my RP a little bit more.
And this was nowhere near as bad as the time last year at the Catacomb where you and I were trying to have a deep, serious roleplay moment, and there was another player at the table who was just immediately trying to move past our roleplay to get to like the next plot point.
Yeah, they were just trying to uncover the plot as quickly as possible, as opposed to give us any moments to like RP in the game. I think it might have also been with that one that like we were actually doing RP early in the game and I was really enjoying it. I think they might have just been getting frustrated or confused that we weren't following any of the plot points, and they might not have thought we knew how to play, at least in the way that they play.
Yeah. Whereas this one, I think, was just one player was a little more excited and was just.
Well, they were also they had really good luck with the like cards generally, and I think they were just kind of excited about that and spurned on by that and enjoying their character, and like that's fine.
That's fine. Like it wasn't a major problem.
It
really
was just, wasn't. Like I do wish we had gotten a couple moments to do stuff a little bit more, but I got enough RP out of that game generally that I still had fun with it. So
yeah,
and the system worked. I thought.
Oh yeah, I think the system works fine. Again, it had. Honestly, my only mild criticism is this was a game intended for 5, and they only had 5 tropes.
Yep.
Generally speaking, and this is a personal preference, I like to make sure that everybody at the table has at least a choice.
Yep.
So, for example, when I ran my Rogue Trader Assassins game at Origins, I set it for a table of 6. I had 7 player character options, and that was partially in case there was a walk up to the table who really, really wanted to play, but it was mostly just so all of the players would have at least a choice.
Yeah.
And that's just a personal thing.
Yeah. And I will also admit, I don't think the characters are like as perfectly balanced if there's only 5 tropes, because like my character, the classic, is pretty much just good at running away, which is only going to come up like a couple times.
Yeah.
Whereas one character like had special powers, or one could like be very good at getting creative, and those are a lot more relevant skills in a given moment than running away.
Yeah, I think the way it worked is every character had a skill check they had an advantage on, a skill check they had a disadvantage on, and then 2 like powers. But some of the powers were really good, and some of them were kind of meh. Like I had a power that I could spend 1 fate coin to heal up 2 fear. That with the best will in the world, that's not a very interesting power.
Yeah, I had one that could heal like body stuff, which is also not that interesting a power. I could like spend a point to find a clue, which I think I did at one point, because I did it kind of creatively.
Yep.
I don't remember exactly what I did. I just remember the GM liked that thought a little bit. So that's a little bit of it. Generally, you also had like 1 stat that was boosted slightly where you had more points in it, but mine was in like I think fatigue or something like that, which was just a damage stat that didn't come up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was health, fatigue, and fear were the 3 like stats.
And we didn't really roll fatigue pretty much at all.
Yeah, so. I lost 1 point of fatigue at one point, and I'd forgotten fatigue was one of my actual stats, so I like marked a level of fatigue somewhere else on my character sheet, and then realized, oh no, whoops, I was supposed to subtract 1 fatigue from my total because I just completely forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. And I do find, like, I don't want to emphasize this is that much of a criticism with this game. I do think RPGs in general, like, will do this thing where they, like, take away from 1 stat and give to another stat generally and think, well, that's balanced, when it's not, because 1 stat is used way more often than the other stat, just generally.
Yep.
It's like, if you have a +1 in perception, and I have a +1 in, like, religious lore, those are not the same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah. Like, again, I still had fun with this.
I did. And I do think it's a game that still works. I do agree with you that I think a few more archetypes. And I do want to emphasize, like, I let other people pick characters first. And I was fine with playing a character that was good at screaming and running away, because that's mostly what I wanted to do in the game. So I was fine with that.
Yep.
Like, I didn't really care that my character was less powerful. It was just maybe a criticism for, like, a longer campaign or something else like that.
And I freely admit, I was a little frustrated with myself in this game, just because so the character I got was quote-unquote the self-aware, and I based them off of Fred from Scooby-Doo, but gender-flipped, and I liked the idea of going like slightly bubbly and slightly happy and cheerful, and for whatever reason I couldn't get myself in the headspace to play that character, so they ended up being a snarky asshole.
It says something that when you try to play bubbly, that's how it comes out. Like, bubbly is what I do like 90% of the time in RPGs.
Yep. Well, and again, at this con, I definitely felt like I was trying to branch out and be a little less pigeonholey, and not just play my default snobby asshole.
Like, this is the thing, is I want to get out of my, like, bread and butter of playing, like, bubbly, cutesy characters or psychotic children, which are most of who I play.
Those are your 2 defaults, yes.
But, like, GenCon is just not a con where I feel quite comfortable enough to do that. Probably do it at Catacon this year.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas again, I very much was trying to do that this weekend, and like in this game, I kind of failed to do it, and that's not on the GM or the game designer. That's a me problem. But yeah, so this was also the only game all weekend where all 3 of us got to play together.
Yep. Which was fun.
Yeah. So, yeah. At that point, I think we headed back to the Airbnb, didn't we?
Yep.
That was our Thursday. It started off pretty badly.
I really do want to thank the GM of Dragon Ate My Homework.
Yes.
Not that the Taskmaster game was bad at all, like that was fun, but your energy was just so infectious.
Yeah. Yeah, like we needed that.
We did. Like, thank you for being a GM who can carry that. Like, if you happen to be listening to this, please let us know what other cons you're going to be at, because we're going to play more of your games.
Yeah. We'd also love to have you as a player, because I suspect you're kind of fascinating as a player.
Oh, we forgot one thing that happened. While we were waiting for Sorority Murders, a ticket to Ponyhammer opened up.
Oh, yes. So let's talk about the exchange process. So a ticket for Ponyhammer opened up, and we did Ponyhammer last year, and it was one of our favorite events.
Yep.
This year, interestingly, they didn't remember to put Ponyhammer in the title. They just flagged it as Night at Trazen's Museum, which I recognized instantly. You have no idea what it meant.
Yeah, I couldn't find it this year. You had to tell me where to find it.
Yep. Trazen is a character from Warhammer 40k, in case anybody's curious. It's a character called Trazen the Infinite. So, you know, I was like, oh, that's a Warhammer thing. Opens it up. That's Ponyhammer.
Yep.
So Ponyhammer is a crossover between My Little Pony and Warhammer 40k. There's a reason why we wanted to play this together.
Yep.
So yeah, we did not get into it this year, but one ticket became available during the time slot when we were doing this.
Yep.
So it basically became a case of, okay, we need to get this ticket.
Yep.
So the way we basically had to do that was I had to go to the the exchange booth, get in line. Fortunately, it wasn't a terribly long line. Go up to the front and say, okay, I would like to return this paper ticket and get one for this game, please. And I said, okay. So they scanned the ticket, they returned it. That was okay. Then they were like, are you sure there's a ticket available for this one? It won't let you get a ticket for this game. It says there's a ticket available. Okay, hang on. And they called over the supervisor, and the guy looked at it for a second and was like, oh, you've got a scheduling conflict. There's something else in your schedule that time. I was like, oh, yeah. Right.
So then you had to call me. I had to return the electronic ticket because it was in. This is the thing. If I purchase the tickets, only I can return the tickets, even if they're in your name. Mm-hmm. So you had to call me to return the ticket that was electronic.
Yep. Now, fortunately, you were able to do that from your
phone, which took 2 seconds. It did take me a while because returning's not intuitive on the app. So.
I mean, it's really unintuitive on the website as well, to be fair. Which is how we had the kerfuffle with Good Luck, Don't Muck It Up. But yeah, so we managed to return that, and then they got me, they gave me my ticket for Ponyhammer. And once again, thank you to the people working the thankless ass job that is registration at this con. You are working your butts off, and I love you. Yep.
And then we had to go downstairs a second time and return more tickets because that game started at 12, which was a different time slot than our typical 10-2 time slot. 8 o'clock games that were 4 hours long were now available to us, and I saw Defenders of the Gone, and the gamers room was opened up, so we had to return more paper tickets to get the electronic tickets for Defenders of the Gone.
Yeah, I literally said, hi, me again, to them when I did that. As a result of that previous rearranging, we're doing some more rearranging. Can I return this, please, for my wife?
Please
Here is her con badge. Oh, they were laughing. Like that, they were like, no, we're here to help. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We're probably not the first people to do that.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll say is, if you're trying to return a paper ticket, you need the badge associated with it to return it. Just
to make sure you don't find it, I guess, accidentally to return it. But they were fine with you returning on my behalf to do my badge. So.
Yeah. Because again, you can't really wait in the line very easily.
No. So. But you said the line wasn't bad at that time.
The line was fine at that time. But yeah, so we that was about an hour of dicking around, but it did eventually mean that we had a Saturday that we were much happier, or Friday? Yeah, Friday
that we were much happier with.
That we were much happier with than our original plan.
Because, I think previously we had a game that started at 10. I don't even remember what it was, which says something about how little I wanted to play it. Bears Gone Wild, which I think was by Genetic Mutant Bears. I was worried it was going to be too serious, because this is the thing, is that's a silly title, but there is a tendency of, I'm going to call them grognards because it's funny, to put silly titles for their very serious and annoying games.
Yep. Looking at you, Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. To be fair, that game actually was good in some respects.
It was not... It needed some goddamn trigger warnings on it.
And it should have been made clear in the description that it was serious. So I wasn't sure if that was going to be silly or pretending to be a bear as opposed to an actual serious game where you just happen to be a bear. Which, why would you do that?
Yep. But yeah, so either way, we got tickets for Ponyhammer.
We got
a ticket for Ponyhammer.
And we got an 8 o'clock game, which is good because Betty's game started at 8 o'clock and I didn't want to wait around the convention center for 2 hours. So
yeah.
This wound up, I think, being a good decision on both those fronts because I did enjoy both these games.
Yes. So, next day?
We did Defenders of the Con.
Yeah. So,
which is Kids on Bikes, in this case, Kids in Capes.
Yes, Kids in Capes, which is the new, spin-off version of Kids on Bikes.
It's not that new at this point, but yes.
Yeah. Again, same basic rule set, insofar as you have a bunch of different stats, and each of them has a different dice type assigned to it.
Yep.
To kind of display how good or bad you are at the particular skill. If you have a D4 in a skill, you kind of suck at it.
Yep.
If you have a D20, congratulations. That's the thing you're actually genuinely good at. This was a good game, I thought.
I did too.
In particular, so the way this one basically worked in terms of characters was they had a bunch of what I would describe as tropes.
Yep.
Just ready to go as character sheets, and then they let you fill in a lot of the details yourself. So like I picked the character who was like, so it was a bunch of what I would dub superhero tropes. And I picked the one who was like, I believe the official title was Out of This World. So I was secretly an alien. And I decided I was basically going to be an Andalite from Animorphs, which meant I was a goddamn centaur.
The GM got your...
They got the reference,
Yep.
yeah. They were saying you're a blue centaur. So that's kind of like one of those things from Animorphs. Like, that is what I was going for. Yes, like, cool. I can roll with that. So my character had like what to everybody else appeared to be a giant backpack. It was actually a slightly reasonably normal sized backpack that appeared giant, to explain why stuff got knocked over when I got too close to it. Because again, it was like cloaking the horse part of me. Which again, I felt my reveal of that to the rest of the table worked quite well.
Yeah, I just played a generic popular girl, but it was fun.
Yep.
And we were joined at the table. Like, I was a little worried because this was an 8-person game, and that's a lot, but only 5 people wound up showing up to the table, us and a nice family.
Yeah, 3-person family.
Parents and a daughter who was either adult or near adult. I couldn't exactly tell. And they were, like, the dad was a little bit too into AI for my taste, but other than that, they're perfectly nice.
Yeah. Again, that's a generational thing.
Yeah. Well, the daughter thought we were cool, so that was cool.
Yep. What were you wearing this day, by the way?
I was wearing my pony dress.
Oh,
my Princess Celestia costume. Which I was really excited because it actually fit now that we managed to get tickets to Ponyhammer, or a ticket to Ponyhammer.
Yes, you brought Princess Celestia, but you weren't sure if you were going to wear it or not. Because we had originally been thinking about trying to blag our way into Ponyhammer with just generics, but we weren't sure if that was going to work.
Yeah. In retrospect, we probably should have just emailed them ahead of time because they actually would have responded to it, but
yeah, probably.
we didn't do that.
Nope. But yeah. So, yep. So, but no, Kids and Capes, I think, was a lot of fun.
I like the adventure a lot with the little alien. I'm not going to give too much away in case this GM happens to run the game again, although I think the odds of anyone listening to this playing these games later is...
It's unlikely, but again, we're not going to give spoilers. But again, no, we had fun.
Yeah, I love games where you play as kids because you get to make decisions that make no sense otherwise.
Yeah.
Like me asking a 7-year-old, effectively alien child who had never seen the existence of the outside world before what they wanted to do is something a 13-year-old would do in that situation.
Yeah, and I appreciated the GM being like, yeah, so, like, I appreciate all the good roleplay of asking what he wants to do. Out of character, he has no idea, and I'm leaving this up to you guys to figure out. He's going to go with whatever you guys want to, like, do.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and the GM was complimenting our table a lot on our roleplay.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
Again, good vibes.
Silly, what I wanted it to be, a game I enjoyed, which was nice. And again, I tend to feel pretty safe in the gamers room. My one criticism of them, and I think Betty also has this criticism, is just they've kind of outgrown their space a little bit at this point.
Yeah, there are times of day when that room is kind of too loud to RP in because they have a reasonable number of tables crammed in there, and there are times of day when they are just all completely full. And that's not a criticism of them. That's they need a bigger space, but I don't think GenCon's willing to give them a bigger space.
And they should. Their events freaking fill.
Yeah. So yeah, again, like GenCon, give the the gamers a bigger space next year because they need it at this point.
They do.
But I appreciate that gamers probably also aren't paying a bunch of money for more space.
Well, they tend to set their ticket prices pretty close to the lowest. I think they're technically $6 instead of $4 for a 4-hour game, but like that might just be because if you're a gaming group, you have to some extent charge more. I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah. But no, this was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was a good way to kick off Friday. Yeah. We then had to, as I unsubtly put it, hoof it over to the Hyatt?
Yeah, that was in the Hyatt.
Yep. For Ponyhammer.
Yep.
And we had fun finding the room this was supposed to be in, because the room it was supposed to be in was locked.
Yep.
Because it turns out, apparently, they were redecorating it. So they ended up having to relocate this to, effectively a balcony. And, there was sort of a corridor, sort of a balcony. But, yeah, so we had one ticket to this, and this was one game where we thought there was a pretty decent chance we could blag you into it with generics. And even if we couldn't, you said you were okay just like observing.
Yeah. Well, I also I technically got a ticket to another game that was I think our backup choice after this, which was the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical special game, which also would have been a great game to play.
Yep.
Or at least sounded like a great game to play. So my plan was if we couldn't get in to just blag off to that because it started an hour later. By the time they got through introducing the characters, we probably would have already spent an hour at the table. So.
But yeah. So they basically said that their policy is basically they set the game to run to up to 9, but they plan for 12. So they kind of, because they know that GenCon's ticketing system sucks on toast, they work around it by leaving 3 spaces for walk-ups.
And yeah, they commented this year in particular, they had to reach out to people because none of the regulars that normally play wound up getting in on the first pass. Because they have a group, they've been doing this for years, and they have a group of people who tend to play pretty much every year. And I did see a couple people, but there were a lot of new people at the table too, and I think that's how they like it. It's kind of a mix of new and old. Yep.
Now, and at this point, we've done 2 years on the trot.
Boo.
Thank
boo.
you. Thank you.
Boo. Boo.
Hey, for the record, that's about the quality of puns you're going to get playing Ponyhammer.
That's true. And this is such a passion project. It's co-GM'd, one person who loves Warhammer, one person who loves My Little Pony.
Who are clearly really, really good friends.
So where did we leave off in the room story?
Yeah, so we ended up on a table that was overlooking the central drop in the Hyatt.
Yep.
Which actually ended up working out okay because anytime you're stuck in a corridor for a game, you're never too sure, one, if you're going to be able to hear each other, because it's going to depend how busy the corridor is, but because of where it was, it actually wasn't bad.
Yep.
And this did end up being a full 12-person game.
I was the only girl.
You were the only girl, or at least only femme-presenting person.
I was a little bit nervous at first because I'm like, oh god, all of these look like men who play Warhammer.
Yeah, and the question did go around the table. Okay, who's into My Little Pony? Your hand and one other hand goes up.
Yep.
And who's into Warhammer? Every other hand.
Yep.
Okay then. But again, it says something that once we basically got past, so there's a very famous spiel that's in the front of basically every Warhammer publication. If you've read any Warhammer books, it's the one that starts with "It is the grim dark future of the 41st millennium," and gives it's a very broad outline of the setting. And they have their own version of it where they've just slipped in a boatload of My Little Pony jokes, reference to the Empress Luna, who has been sitting on the throne of terror for 10,000 years, and her armies of Imperial Space Marines. And as he says, the puns aren't going to get any better.
It gives everyone a very big setup for what type of game this is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm glad that they managed to get it. I started this really nervous for twofold. One, I was the only girl at the table, including, I assume, the 2 GMs, who I'm pretty sure use he, him pronouns.
I believe so.
And I was nervous about that. I was also nervous because last year I think we actually only had about 8 people who wound up showing up. This year the table was full. And I'm like, how are they going to manage that? But both of those things turned out to not be problems at all. It was amazing.
It was. Again, they do a very good job of managing the table, given its size. It does help a lot that there's 2 of them.
Yep.
There was at least one point of the game where you were trying to say something, and the GM kind of missed it because he was just trying to do something else. And the second GM walks around the table, kind of hunched down next to you, and had a conversation with you to try and figure out what you were trying to interject, and if it was basically something he should, something he could handle himself, or if it was a case of interject and make sure you got that moment to speak to the table as a whole.
Yeah, I noticed they were working a little bit less together this year, but that's because they were writing a whole bunch of stuff down, which made sense.
Yes, because it turned out there was a twist at the end of this one, and the twist was cliffhanger.
Yep.
It was set up for next year's game that they're apparently writing. Based on what they said, next year's game we might be playing as Necron ponies if we go to it.
It's just so sweet. I also like that they write all these characters out, they introduce all the characters, and then they have people pick, so you're not pressured to pick a character. Because a lot of times GMs will either just throw the characters on the table and whoever gets them first gets to choose. Or they'll introduce a character one at a time and say, who wants to be this person when you don't know who all of them are. Whereas they introduce and explain all the characters, and you can kind of choose.
Yeah, I freely admit I did this myself at Origins of my Steambound game, specifically because I'd seen them do it and I thought it worked well for them.
It does.
So I was just like, okay, let's and I'm probably going to do that with probably both games that I'm running at the Catacon.
Yep.
Which, in case anybody's curious, I'm planning to run Household, the game where you're playing as tiny fairies, and one that I'm dubbing Star Wars: The Sith Academy, where you're all playing a bunch of Sith acolytes. At the Academy on Korriban. I'm looking forward to both those games. Yeah. But no, so this worked really well because the first character was a rogue trader called Princess. I forget, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think it was something similar to Celestia, but not. They said princess, and I listened to all the other characters, but the first one had princess in the title, and I was dressed as a princess pony, and I really didn't care about the rest of it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so they basically say, okay, who wants this one? And you and one other person put their hand up.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was the person right next to you.
Yeah, I was talking to them throughout the game. They're super nice. We talked to them later a little bit too.
Yeah, we did. And there was a brief conversation between the two of you. And the general consensus of both them and the table was, no, you take the princess. Yep. You're good. You can have the rogue trader.
Yeah. Well, they actually I said thank you to them after everyone was done picking characters, and they were like, "Oh, absolutely! I just wanted to make sure that somebody who had strong RP skills got that one, and I know you do." And that was just a very sweet compliment.
Yeah.
Everyone at this table was so sweet.
Yeah.
There was a couple conflicts picking characters. Like a couple people I think were happy to fill. Two people from the other side of the table wanted the same character, and they kept offering it to each other.
Yeah.
To the point where they had to have a roll off, and I was just like, "Are you guys just rolling for each other at this point?"
Pretty much. And then they of course rolled exactly equal on the dice.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the vibes were very, very good at this one, and I did appreciate the one person who. Like always, no, I didn't pick specifically because I always like to get the character who's left over at the end who nobody wants. It's kind of adorable.
Well, I think two people were actually fighting over being the person who got the character that nobody wanted at the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Again, as I've said to you, there are two kinds of people who are into Warhammer. There are the people who appreciate that Warhammer is a joke, and you are not supposed to idolize the Imperium.
Yep.
Because the Imperium is awful, and that's half the joke. And then there are the people who look at it with no critical eye and basically go, oh yes, all this evil, repugnant stuff that the Imperium does is necessary to survive in a harsh galaxy. And it's like, no, it's not. The text is very clear on this. And generally speaking, you will have a lot more fun playing with the first category. And anybody who's going to a My Little Pony / Warhammer game is going to be in the first category.
Yeah, this game had this game both this year and last year has miniature ponies on the table that I think makes sense if you get into like a physical combat. I think they 86 the idea of having combat be physical when they found out there were 12 people at the table. But you could still play with the ponies, and I and a couple other people did that. And they also have like post-it notes and markers and crayons on the tables. Some of the ponies have powers that like relate to those. Like one person, anything they draw would become a weapon. But I wrote, because my character had an army of clip-clops under their demand that we had to find, which we did find.
Again, they're a rogue trader. They have an army of minions.
Yep. So I wrote clip-clop on a bunch of Post-it notes and passed them around to offer my clip-clops out to everyone.
But everybody was just sticking the Post-it notes to themselves.
Yeah, which is just like them engaging with that little silly action with me really meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And then later I acquired mini clip-clops and gave those around to everyone too.
Yep.
I also put a bunch of Post-it notes on you at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, there was just like, Warhammer Explainer or something like that.
Yep. And there was like a subplot where like, there was a lot going on at the table that the GMs couldn't catch, so because the GMs didn't have time to incorporate this in the plot, the person sitting next to me who was like defending you stuck themselves out in front of you and got all your like...
Yeah, they took the Post-it notes.
Yep. And they were just like, then once they realized they were going to get the GM's attention, they were like, I want to do this. I'm like, I'm just cool with you doing that. And they just stuck on the Post-it notes. And then the GM who wasn't operating the scene just came around and gave them, because you get stars for basically just doing anything in this game that you can use to like bid for various actions to happen.
Yeah, that they are quote unquote plot points.
Yep.
And at any point, anytime there is a dice roll, you can spend a plot point to shift the result up or down one.
Yep.
And that includes using it to screw over the other players.
Like, sometimes we were just bidding on results for no reason.
Just because it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, again, this is the Toon system. It's supposed to be funny.
Yep.
Also, your dice were just having fun at my expense. Because again, this is a 2d6 system.
Yep.
So we broke out your Starry Night dice that you got at Origins.
Yep.
And they just decided they hated me in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my character had one goal in life, which was to die valiantly ramming the enemy. Because they were an Imperial Admiral. That's Imperial Combat Tactics 101. Ram. To directly quote a fantastic review of Battlefleet Gothic, you have a ship. It's called something like the Litany of Litany's Litany. Mm-hmm. Use it to ram. Like, Imperial ships actually have armored prow specifically to make it easier to ram into the enemy. Mm-hmm. It's the dumbest thing possible. It's wonderful. But yeah, my character's life ambition was to die gloriously ramming the enemy. I had 2 opportunities to do it. I crit failed both of them. It's a goddamn 1 in 36 chance for each of those.
Yep.
The last one I was getting a +6 on. Like, I had to roll under a 15 on 2 dice. Like, it was literally impossible to fail unless I crit failed. And then, oh look, there's the double 6 again.
Yep.
So yeah, like, for the record, this is the kind of game where even failing is just tremendous fun because it's hilarious. Yeah.
And it is a game where it's also, even with 12 people at the table, it's so much fun to watch the plot, even when you're not involved in it, that it's just...
Yep. Stupid shenanigans will happen.
The GMs do a great job, and I can tell how well they work together generally.
Yep.
I also got everyone to poll in on whether or not lasagna was a messy food.
It's not, but go on. This is I'm dying on this hill, honey. It's a stupid hill, but I'm going to die on it.
You got outvoted 13-1.
Yeah, but I was getting outvoted by Americans, so it doesn't count.
What the fuck does that mean?
Congratulations, that was a 1 F-bomb. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, like, no. Pony Hammer was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy we were able to get into it this year.
And I'm glad we got that 1 ticket, because I don't think blagging us both in with the amount of people that wanted to go would have been viable. No. So
I think blagging 1 person in is doable. I think more than that, you are pushing your luck.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very glad we ended up with 1 ticket to it.
And I do think they enjoy having us at the table. At least I hope they do.
I hope they do. Again, I don't think I did as good a job RPing this year as I did last year. Like, last year I was the Imperial Discipline Master, and again, like, I don't think I got the Admiral's character down quite as well. But I still had a lot of fun, and I hope everybody else enjoyed it. The heck was that Pony Hammer?
Pink Pony Hammer. We don't have this rights to this song, but we're not monetized. Pink Pony Hammer. Demon Hunter's Comedy of Terrors.
This game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was then, wasn't it?
It was.
No, I was having a moment. I thought that was on Saturday, but no, it wasn't. You are correct. This is the thing. With this con, it gets a little liminal what day it is.
Yep.
Like, I spent half of Friday thinking it was Saturday. So yeah. So this game was okay.
Yep.
So this game was, quote, the accelerated fate system, where I'm trying to remember how the mechanics of this one even worked. Oh yeah, where you had a bunch of different stats. Once again, each of which had different dice assigned to it. You'll be rolling 2 dice at any given time. They did do the thing that I like at con games, which is if you can BS your way into arguing that you should use a particular stat for a thing, they'll let you use that stat for a thing.
Yep.
Where it's like, okay, okay, so you're trying to lift this door? Yeah, well, that's probably strength. What if I do it by, like, flexing my, legs in the sexiest way possible? Can I use charisma instead? All right. Yeah, that kind of logic. Yeah.
So you're basically always rolling your highest stats, as you should be, generally. Yep. Like, a few times people were, like, I did this too, where I was like, I can't really justify this for this, so I'm going to roll the next one down, because that one I can justify.
Yep.
And their system was where you can, like, boost each other, too. But there were a couple issues with this. Like, it wasn't a bad experience, but it was the most expensive game that we did at $12 a ticket, so $24 total for us to be at this table.
Yep.
And I don't think it should have cost that much.
No. Because for one thing, the GM freely admitted they didn't really have much of a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, for some games that's not a problem. Like, generally speaking, if you turn up to like late show and the GM's like, yeah, there's no plan for this one. There's not supposed to be.
Yep.
If you've planned late show, you're playing it wrong.
Yeah, if you're trying to keep it on a plot on late show, you've already done more work than you're supposed to do for the film.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas for this one, like, the thing is, they clearly did have at least some stuff planned, because they had a playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Which, this was an interesting concept of, once the, like, action kicked in, they set up a speaker and started playing music, and for each different song, there was, like, different rules.
Yep.
So sometimes, like, a song started playing and, like, that spawned in a bunch more bad guys. For some of them, they were like, oh, during this, like, all the dice will explode, so you'll get, like,
bonuses if you land on a 6 or a 10 or whatever the highest number in your die is.
Yep.
On this one, just everything explodes, whatever that means.
Yep. Or like on this one, like you get allies turn up. Like,
yep.
They planned some stuff, but the basics. Okay.
Like, I did think that was a cute idea, but it was like 80% of this game was combat. They did like us sneaking into the building at the start of combat, which I thought was going to be most of the game, is this like spy heist thing when we started. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's like a spy heist. So no, we're just in combat the entire time.
Yeah. Also, again, I freely admit, for a game called Demon Hunters something or other,
Comedy of Terrors,
there were no demons in this,
no.
outside of one character kept trying to summon them, and that was a player character.
Yeah. Well, like it says, in a world where everything is real, demons, the Tooth Fairy, sentient man buns, you name it, we defeated it. The Brotherhood of Celestial Justice fights for truth, justice, in their next coffee break. And I thought this was going to be a cute like romp where we were investigating things. It was still like, it's the type of action fighting I like, which is the over comedic, over dramatic, over the top, this is stupid action style of fighting games.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I wouldn't say I like it as much as Dungeon Crawl Classics for this, but I do still like it, okay, as a system. But it's also just like, I'm not going to pay $12 at a con game to be in effectively combat for 2.5 hours.
Yeah. So, like, because I fully admit, this was one where, again, I was trying to get out of my usual wheelhouse. So
yeah.
There was one character I was looking at, I was like, okay, snobby, asshole, I can do this easily. This one's like, kind of a dommy-mommy vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done that before. But, screw it, let's do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand now, because you kept saying there wasn't enough role play this week, and I'm starting to understand why you're starting to say that. It's because you were trying to challenge yourself with role play and didn't get a lot of opportunities to.
Yes, that's kind of what I meant in that regard. So I picked this character out specifically so I could play her, and have fun being like kind of flirty, kind of dommy, kind of like, OTT, like talk her way through a lot of situations. Like half of her skills were based on talking her way through problems. Like I had a skill called enhanced interrogation or questionable interrogation tactics. I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
Yep.
I'm going to do some stuff that I couldn't do at a non-18 plus table.
Yep.
And by that, I just mean, like, lean into the suggestive elements. I don't mean anything. But again, because this game ended up being, like, 95% combat, I never got the opportunity to do that. Like, because I did what I thought was a funny way to enter the building that worked in with my stats, I didn't end up encountering an NPC. At all.
Yep.
So I never got the opportunity to actually like do that, and then after that, it became just a game of rolling dice as we as we hit things,
which is fine. I wanted it to be more of like a heist than like I would have been happy if the combat was only like a couple rounds and then we moved on to doing other stuff.
Yeah.
It was like mildly enjoyable, but it's also just because it's a fairly simplistic combat system. You realistically are only doing the same actions every single turn anyway, so it's kind of boring to do that for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like you can only flavor the phrase, I leap in and punch a bunch of goons so much.
Like my character basically hit somebody with music or buffed people with music.
Yep.
Those were the two things I did for 6 rounds.
Yep. So I actually sprinted out partway through this game. We lied to the GM on this one. I claimed that a friend of ours had an emergency and they needed to go help them out.
Yeah, I said check on a friend. I didn't imply that anyone was physically hurt.
Yeah. So I like sprinted out on this one, and the reason for that was there was another game that we wanted to get into.
Well, I wanted to get into.
You
and
wanted
Benny
to get into, and Betty wanted to get into, and I would have been very happy to play with you guys if I could get into it. Called Fashion or Slashing, which was basically about, what was it, a heist at the Met Gala? Which the level to which that hits all of your heck yes, all of this in my brain.
Yep. Like, we desperately wanted to get into this. It was our top choice.
Yep.
And it just didn't happen.
Yep.
It didn't happen then either, but
Yep.
again, it's...
So I sprinted across the convention center.
Yep.
And I had a brief conversation with the GM, and they basically said, yeah, hey, if the players don't turn up, you and your friends are welcome to fill the spots. And it was looking promising for a second there. Only 2 players had turned up out of the 6 available. And then a group of 4 friends turned up at once. And they were like, hey, we're all here for this. Which again happens. And the GM was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I knew it was a long shot, but it was.
I appreciated you trying. I'm glad that we at least tried, so I got some peace of mind. And that was the way that we were going to do it, so I didn't have to feel the anticipation there. I felt a little guilty about you running out of the game, but not that guilty because it didn't matter. So, like, I tried to apologize. I couldn't tell if the GM, like, just didn't care. Or, like, there's just a certain type of man who, like, when you say sorry to them, they just don't care in a way that I can't tell if they're, like, annoyed and don't feel like hiding it or just legitimately can't inflect their voices in a way. But I don't think anyone cared, so.
Yeah.
Like, it was cute. It was fun. It just, that was $24.
Yeah.
For not that interesting a thing.
And again, that ultimately is our big problem with this con, as we are going to keep harping on. The game should not goddamn cost money.
Oh yeah, my character, by the way, was from K-pop Demon Hunters. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that was kind of funny because again, the one of the people who was like manning the room, they basically was so we realized that like there was a lot of K-pop Demon Hunters fans, and we worried there might be some confusion, and we didn't want to disappoint anybody. So I just quickly knocked up the characters from K-pop Demon Hunters if anybody wants to play as one of them.
Yep. So I thought that was funny. I'm like, yes, that's funny.
That's funny. You were going to do that.
I was basically a bard, so I was just like, yeah, it's a bard who's from K-pop Demon Hunters. I got to do social media and stuff. It was fun.
Yep. Yeah. So again, like the game, it's so at that point I sprinted back over, and again, like it was, the game was okay.
Yep.
It was just, here's the thing: if we'd paid $4 for that, I wouldn't have cared. But $12 a ticket was too expensive for that, especially as it was a 3-hour game.
Yep.
And yeah, we had another game immediately afterwards, so we had to like dip.
Yeah, which we didn't actually wind up going to.
Yeah.
It's mostly because they updated the description on this, so it was something that I don't think I was as interested in.
Yep.
So Betty finished up their game, we finished up our game, and we met them for this game, which was meant to be kind of what we could do instead of Fashion or Slashing, which was...
Romance and Revelry?
Yeah. But basically what I thought it was going to be an art. We were confused because the game had 18 people in it, which was weird. And basically what the updated description said is that you basically would gain assets to accumulate wealth and bag about their wealth at 3 balls, during which, I'm reading from the description, players will leave the table and move around to surrounding areas to talk about their prospects and court fellow players. At the end of the game, the players will write a letter of proposal to another player, and any pair matched will become married. A married couple or individual with the most wealth at the end of the game wins. The assets are silly, the balls riddled with goofy roleplay, and the whole game provides an experience of Bridgerton meets Weird Al, which I do think could be fun, but I don't think it was the type of thing Betty would like as much. When I explained it to them, they were just like, I don't really want to do that. And if I had the energy to do that, I probably could, but I just didn't at the moment.
Yeah. And
it's in part also, like, I do get letter writing at cons and stuff like that, but as somebody with dysgraphia, like, I feel pretty insecure about my handwriting, so... And I was also tired, so... We decided to get an early night and headed out at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, that was 8-ish.
8-ish.
So it still meant we got back to the Airbnb at like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
But that did mean that, like, was that the night of the show? Yeah. So hilariously, our Airbnb was, as we mentioned, part of an apartment complex.
Yep.
And like it had like some kind of performance going on that night. There was was it a Pink tribute band contest?
It was a Pink tribute band concert followed by a drone show that I think had clearly been scheduled for the 4th of July, but delayed a ridiculous amount for whatever reason.
Yeah, the level of which this drone show was jerking off America was kind of impressive.
Because we could just see it from the window of our Airbnb, so we all scooted up in the window because it was only about 20 minutes long and watched it. It was both incredible, just because I hadn't seen the technology before, and also so progressively American that it's just, if you're somebody who's not very happy with the state of America at the moment, very fun to mock. And also just very fun to mock generally, because like I don't understand the point of being reverent for certain things in America, like our flag. Like, who cares? It's a flag.
And again, as a British immigrant to this country,
Immigrant.
Yes, as a British immigrant to this country, like the sheer amount of times when you guys love to talk about, like, oh yeah, we signed the Declaration of Independence, and I'm like, yeah, good for you. Who cares?
Can you stop saying "you guys" as though we're all one homogenous mass? It's a big country, dude.
That's fair, but and especially once the the show got onto like, here's a tank, here's an Apache helicopter, and I'm like, you guys know you haven't actually won a war since the Second World War, right? I should stop saying you guys, shouldn't I?
You really should.
Yeah, sorry. But again, America fetishizes its military in a way that I do find a little uncomfortable sometimes.
Well, this is why I don't tend to like a lot of military stuff in sci-fi generally, as I find the military in general tends to be fetishized in a way that allows for people who just want to be violent an excuse to be violent in a way that is quote unquote ethical, even though it's still probably not.
But yeah, again, this was kind of fun to just mock while we got ready for bed, basically.
We also tried the princess cake that we got from IKEA.
Yeah, we got a princess cake from IKEA, which didn't mention that.
Yeah, we stopped at IKEA. I want a new mattress, as I mentioned before on this podcast, so we stopped at IKEA on Columbus on the way down to the convention center to test out beds, basically, because we had extra time that day to do that.
Yep. And again, 4-hour drive, so it helped to break it up a little bit. Yep.
So we did that, and then we found out there was an IKEA, that IKEA didn't have princess cake. We looked last week, and they didn't have princess cake then either, so we got princess cake from the IKEA that was like
5-minute drive away from the Airbnb.
And yeah, it was okay. I don't think we stored it correctly. In fairness, we didn't read the storage instructions.
Oh, was it supposed to be frozen?
I think it was supposed to be frozen then thawed.
I mean, we did thaw it.
I know, but you can only leave it thawed for a certain time.
Oh. Sorry.
It's fine. It was okay. I probably won't get it again, but I liked it okay.
Cool. So yeah. So at that point, bed, get up the next morning at 6 a.m.
Yep.
By this point, we were fairly sleep deprived. But,
yeah.
you know.
Another ticket opened up for a game that was a little bit of a fiasco to get, because we actually did have a ticket to this game, and then we returned it because their ticketing system is not intuitive.
Yeah, this happened on this happened on Ticket Scrum Day. Like, you told me to return one thing, and because that ticketing system is kind of confusing, I returned the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of feeling bad about it ever since.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It probably could have worked out with less angst, but I'd also, I had to go buy that ticket that night, and I finally understood what you meant about the ticketing system, because it looks like it should be the one under the thing, not above the thing where it says click return ticket.
So yeah. So one ticket opened up for that game that you wanted to play, so you got that ticket. Because these tickets were purely electronic, we didn't have you could just return the stuff and then get the other stuff,
which was nice.
Which
so
was
I just did that. I think you technically got the ticket because again, stuff was just on various people's accounts, and that one had a paper ticket on it. Bloody blue.
Yeah. So I returned my electronic tickets to open up the spot, then you bought that ticket for me.
Yeah, which wound up being a whole thing because you had to it was confusing.
Yeah. We
managed to figure it out.
Yeah. Incidentally, kids, this is why you should go to college, to learn the skills to figure out these problems for yourself.
Yes, and not just call people when you want to give up. Yeah. But yeah, so I got into Good Luck, Don't Lick It Up.
Yep. So this was the 8 a.m. start, and I had nothing to do that morning while you were playing that.
Yeah, this was a 4-hour long game, so.
Yeah. For the record, we had tickets to other stuff that were kind of like what you'd got as backup options, but neither of the things were particularly. They weren't things I was that interested to play, so I ended up being like, nah, I'll just kind of chill. And yeah, Betty had a game at 9, so
Yep.
basically I dropped you off at your game, then I walked them over to the stadium where their game was, chatted with them for a little bit, and then dropped them off at their game, and then I just kind of meandered for a couple of hours. So you talk about your game,
Yep.
then I'll talk about what I did while you were playing it.
Yeah. So this was Land of Eam system. This wound up being different than what I expected it to be, because it was basically like you had to get a dress back for effectively a drag show with Muppets, and I assumed it was going to be the literal Muppets getting back a drag show dress with a silly RPG system. It wound up being a kind of a D&D spinoff that was more crunchy than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit like lighter RP-esque generally. But it was a system that it had a bunch of RP in it, but it was a more crunchy system with like rules for travel, and they had a combat, but a combat that could be resolved socially in a way. And I was commenting to the GM about it, and he said they did, or they said that they did kind of simplify it a little bit, because it was actually even more complex than that, just for a con game generally. And they had some pre-gen characters. I picked a bard. Like, I randomly turned over one and it said bard, and I'm like, this is a sign. I'm just going to pick this. It's a bard.
It's your go-to for a reason.
Yep. Especially when playing a new system. There is both a class and a species that's just called Gnome that's effectively the Druid class, and they have kind of your standard D&D classes, but they use a D12 system where you have a 12-sided die and you have things that can modify that die, which are basic different stats and stuff that focus a little bit more. Like, I like this game because it focuses more on social mechanics a little bit and flavors up the other parts of D&D that have kind of been left unattended in D&D a little bit, which I find both travel mechanics generally and or social combat mechanics are two things that 5e, in particular D&D, I think really, really struggles to address when they can be very interesting things. So I want to, literally everyone at the game at the end asked about buying a copy of this, which I think is a very good sign.
Which we did end up doing.
Yep. Because I liked it a lot. I've been wanting to run a more crunchy system. At the table with me was a family of 4, 2 parents and 2 slightly younger teenage children, I think. Maybe a little bit below driving age. Again, I didn't ask, one of which was one of those teenagers who draws the game while they're playing the game. We had to find a hat, and they drew what the hat would look like, or they were making a hat, and they drew the hat. It was very cool. The parents are super cool. Sometimes when you're playing with a family, you worry about that family not including you, but this family was the exact opposite of that. And some dude who was also sitting with me was also super, super nice. I critted on a couple really great rolls, which is always a blast. I think you came in when I was critting on a roll.
That was the moment when I came into the room, yeah. Because short version, I'd eaten my sandwiches for the day and I wanted to drop the box they were in back in the con bag.
Yep.
Yeah, plus I did also want to check on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure you were doing okay.
Yeah. I was doing great. I felt very comfortable at this table the entire time. Everyone super, super nice.
Which, as you said, generally speaking, you tend to feel quite comfortable in the gamer's room.
Yeah. My one criticism is just because it was a slightly crunchy game. There were a couple of mechanics that I think the GM wasn't as sure on. But again, I get that the only way you're going to learn a game is by running it to a certain extent. So, we had quest points to redo some of our stats, and I was wondering what are these, and it said on the sheet, and the GM forgot to explain it. I think forgot they were a thing. And the game has a few once per game abilities that are very, very powerful and cool. My one criticism of them is they're hidden behind rolls. And I don't think once per game abilities would be hidden behind rolls. Basically, how effective it is depends on the roll you get.
Yeah.
And I generally, if it's a once per game ability or once per session ability, I think that shouldn't be hidden behind a roll, you know?
Yeah.
You could use quest points, which various characters had various amounts of to do it again. Oh, cool, there's a rainbow. That's fitting for this.
Yep.
But I think if I did this, I would house rule it so you could use your game or once per session ability once for an automatic success, and you could use your quest points to re-roll it 3 additional times for a potential additional success to make it a little bit more fair. And these go up. Ooh, the rainbow's expanding. I love rainbows. But it was very, very fun. It was very, very cool. It was a great thing. I'm glad I got into this, even though it was very different than what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. The family, or 2 members of that family, wound up playing another game with us.
Yep.
Kind of
immediately
incidentally.
afterwards.
Well, sort of immediately afterwards. It took a while for the GM to show up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that game in a second, Simon. So, once again, I had about 3 hours to kill at this point after I dropped Betty at their game. So I did the obvious thing. I meandered around a bit, just kind of looking around, seeing what I could see. And then once the vendors hall was about to open, I did take the opportunity to go to the balcony to overlook the area where everybody was waiting to get into the vendors hall. And yeah, that was not fun. So I figured, okay, I'll go into the vendors hall through the gaming hall because I feel like that'll be slightly less bonkers. And it was. But it did mean that we got into the vendors hall 10 minutes later than everybody else because the sliding panels that they used to separate out the rooms, one of them got stuck. And it took them a good few minutes to unjam it so that they could actually open the way into the vendors hall. For the most part, everybody was kind of polite, but there was definitely a bit of toe tapping and watch looking at. Oh, it's quite an impressive rainbow.
Yeah, no. It's fading a little bit now. We're going past it, but it's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a memory of me being mad when I was a 5-year-old child because my mom mentioned that there was a rainbow outside earlier that day to a friend of ours, and they didn't come get me when the rainbow was outside. I'm like, why didn't you come get me? Because I'd never seen a rainbow before at that age.
But yeah. So that was kind of amusing. But at that point,
And I've since then embraced the rainbow so hard as a result of that one experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, given what you made me do, the shelves not in the living room.
Yep.
I joke.
It was all my mom's fault. Actually, that's true.
That's true of a lot of things.
That is true of a lot of things. Anyway, sorry.
So again, wandered to the vendors hall, had a look at some stuff. Found out that Household apparently has an art book. That was cool.
Yeah, this is the thing that I will admit I find mildly frustrated about the this weekend is I asked a lot of people where they got various things, and every single time the answer was, "Oh, it was a Kickstarter back item." I'm just okay.
Yeah. So the Household art book, which I was very tempted to get here. If it had been about $15 cheaper, I probably would have, but I could not justify $45 for it at the moment. Was apparently, I think the reason I hadn't seen it before and I checked and couldn't buy it online is because the physical copy of it was, as far as I can tell, only a Kickstarter backer reward previously. And I suspect, because the company that was selling it here is the company that prints Household, I suspect they were just using this to get rid of additional stock. So they were making it a in-person sale only exclusive. So if you wanted the physical copy, I think you had to back the $350 level on the Kickstarter. You could get the PDF version on the lower levels, but not the physical version. And for the record, the art of Household is goddamn gorgeous.
It is.
Their artist is ludicrously talented, and I adore them.
Oh, we forgot something previously from the previous night that
What?
did happen, and I'm glad we went to the room, is as we were going out of the Romance and Revelry room, because we did go there not to play.
Oh, yeah, we did bump into a Household cosplayer.
A Household cosplayer. It was really a cosplay I really wanted to do, but obviously it was great, who was playing the, little shepherd druid with their pet bumblebee.
Yep, they had a bumblebee plush. It was adorable.
It was adorable.
Yeah, you hurried up to them and we were like, hey, are you cosplaying the character from Household? They're like, yes!
They were so excited that I got it.
They were so happy somebody recognized it because you were also in a giant ball gown, so of course they took a picture with you.
Yeah, it was a great moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, do you want to talk about Saturday's ball gown?
Oh yeah, Saturday's ball gown, I wore kind of a fun quinceanera overstock dress. It does have a little bit of problems with the hemming at the bottom, but it still is a fun dress with fun sleeves that is poofy and is just very kind of D&D coded, Renaissance coded generally. So
yeah, it's kind of a deep red color. Yeah. It's very pretty. But yeah, so I contemplated getting that, but decided it was too expensive at that price. I decided I would talk to you about it, but I suspected we were going to be leaning in that direction. But I did pick up a copy of Fatebound because we'd had a conversation about you wanting a copy of Fatebound. Which again, very happy we've got that. We do now need to buy a bunch of tarot decks so you can actually run it, but again, those are going to come off Amazon cheap because, again, that's still if I'd wanted absolutely everything Fatebound related, like the GM screen and the two expansions, which I checked what's in the expansions, it's basically just a couple of additional character options. So GM screen that, like a couple of other things. It would have been like $120, which
It's a bit much for now.
yeah. And I don't think we really need all the accoutrements.
Yeah, it's probably going to be more of a con game, at least for a while. I don't think I really want to do a campaign in it.
Yeah.
Additional character classes would be cool, but I could also always just make those. So
yeah, I can tell you what they are if you're curious at some point.
But they gave you a discount, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, did you say that already?
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, they were nice to me on that one. So what was my... So, got that. Also ended up with like a free little booklet that somebody just handed me. I've not actually had time to check what that was.
Maybe it was a pamphlet to join a cult.
Yeah, entirely possible knowing this con.
You probably accidentally joined a cult.
Probably.
I leave you alone for 5 minutes. That is what would happen.
Yeah, especially at this con. But no, I did at least have fun like looking around at the various stuff that was being played, and like there was a bunch of like various miniature games going on. I'm genuinely surprised that GenCon doesn't have a proper Warhammer tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's possible they do, and
I'm pretty sure they do. I just don't know where it is, but I've definitely seen some Warhammer stuff. I'm not looking through the schedule right now. It's a nightmare and a half to navigate on the phone.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah. So again, this was this was a reasonably entertaining time, but it's the classic case of if you don't have anything to do, just kind of touring the vendors hall for a bit sort of works. But again, I did once again reach the point where I was like, I'm getting completely overwhelmed by all of this. Like again, last year I basically went in, bought a few things, came back out.
Yep.
Also, Mephidius, for God's sake, make more heroes for your Mass Effect game. I know you've done like additional bad guys at this point. I want the entire goddamn crew of the Normandy. Hurry up.
Yes, dear.
They've only done 6 so far, and 2 of them are Shepard.
You've already talked about this more than you talked about the good luck, don't make up game. Let's move on.
Moving on. So yeah, so I came to get you at the end of that game, and what did we head over to? Oh yeah, we then headed over to the big gaming hall in Hall C.
Yes, like there are some RPGs in the main gaming hall. We tried to avoid them.
Mm-hmm. Mostly because that hall is really goddamn loud.
Like it doesn't really work for RPGs. This one I think was in the main gaming hall because it was in the main booth of the gaming hall.
Yep. Specifically, this was at a table run by Steve Jackson Games.
Yep.
Who is apparently the guy who made Munchkin.
Yeah, and I think a few other stuff. I'll look him up. I did not get this event because we're going to be playing with the designer, but apparently we are.
Yeah, mostly we just saw this and like, Acme, like Game of Toon. You're trying to build a house as cartoon characters. That sounds stupid and fun. It's 2 hours long.
Well, it was also the Toon system, which is what we used for Ponyhammer, which I thought would be like when you need a 2-hour game. The Toon system's never that figured. So
yeah. So yeah, this ended up actually being GM'd by Steve Jackson himself, who is apparently quite well known.
Oh, he apparently also invented GURPS.
Oh, wow, okay. Toon and GURPS. Those are slightly different styles of game.
Car Wars Munchkin GURPS is what I can find on him. He seems perfectly nice. We just don't care that much about meeting famous people and no idea who he was at the time.
Yep. But a couple of the other people at the table were like, oh, wow, are you the Steve Jackson? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, okay.
Like, some people came up and asked him to sign stuff, generally. So I'm like, he seems perfectly nice. He did seem a little bit confused because he got the schedule mixed up.
Yeah, he was expecting to be running, I think, a card game at that time, and then he looked at his schedule and was like, whoops. Switch back out, switch. Like, he had the stuff ready to go. He knew he was running that game this weekend. He just got his times mixed up, which again happens to all of us. Don't worry about it. And again, this was Toon, so the actual system's incredibly simple. And we were basically just, we were a bunch of cartoon characters trying to build a house. You can imagine how this goes. The answer is badly and
very
weirdly. Badly. At one point, Cthulhu got summoned.
Yep. The guy, I think Steve Jackson very much liked our table because we very much got into the RP and the role playing. Like if you have things in your back pocket and people were just making a ton of puns generally, like at one point I threw rainbow paint onto the side of the house to like make walls just from throwing paint on it.
Yep.
Because that's how it works in cartoons.
Yep.
And I like had matches in my back pocket, so I pulled out the metaphorical concept of matches to make sure everything in the house matches.
Yep. At one point I needed to get some heavy equipment, so I went to get a forklift. So specifically, I put some forks in the lift. So that I had my forklift.
Yeah.
like that kind of humor.
Yeah, and everyone at the table was great to play with. My one criticism is I could not hear what was happening on the other half of the table most of the time.
Yeah. And again, that's not on the
GM or anyone else. That's just a limitation on the hallway.
Yeah, it's not a good it's not a good place to host an RPG.
Yeah, somebody attempted to raise the roof by raising the roof.
Yeah, in the like dance move,
Yep,
like style.
I'm so sick of traffic.
Yeah.
Steve Jackson's drink did spill. I want to emphasize our name policy.
Yeah, he's fairly famous.
Yeah, so I think it's fine to say that he's there, but he put his drink on the floor and it did spill. I was worried that was going to happen because my dress was there, but thankfully I moved it out of the way just in time and they got it cleaned up. We tried to play in the middle of the hallway for half a second, which was a horrible idea, but thankfully somebody came by with a mop.
Yeah, I'll say this. We basically grabbed some paper towels to just like get the worst of it, and then, one of the convention center staff came over with a mop fairly quickly.
And this clearly was the worst water spillage that happened this weekend.
Yeah.
Looking back, it might have been an omen.
Yeah, and yeah, the weather that morning had kind of sucked.
It had been raining cats and dogs all day.
Yeah, but to be fair, it hadn't really been a problem for us because, again, our Airbnb had covered parking. So we didn't have to go outside in order to get into the car. And then the car park we were parking in all weekend was directly connected, so we didn't have to go outside then either.
Yep.
Yay. But yeah, so that game was fun.
Mm-hmm.
My one criticism, and this probably is mostly because it affected me specifically, was one of the mechanics in Toon is basically like, you are cartoon characters, like
you can't die.
You can't die. So I got reduced to 0 health because like stuff kept falling on my head because cartoon character, and he basically said, "Okay, you're going to be out for 3 rounds." That was most of the game.
Yeah, that was a little bit too long. I might just have it be 1 round in a con one shot that's 2 hours, because 3 rounds is like at least 30 minutes.
Yeah, that was a while.
Yeah.
So I basically couldn't do anything for a decent chunk of this game.
Mm-hmm.
That was the point at which I was doing the research to find out that the art book was a Kickstarter exclusive, because I had time to kill all of a sudden.
Yeah. See, I would change that rule generally, but I think the guys just play by the rules. He did seem very amused by our table, though.
Yeah.
Like, he complimented us all at the end, which was sweet.
Yeah. Again, this was cute. This was fun.
I just wish it had been in a quieter room.
Yeah.
And this did cement for me that I'm not going to play a game that's longer than 2 hours long in the main hall pretty much ever, because it's just, you can't hear.
Yeah.
And that was not anyone's fault. But it was funny. Everyone was killing themselves, laughing. People were complimenting each other.
Yeah, there was a lot of very, very bad jokes.
Yep. I might turn the lights on, speaking of rain, just to be safe.
But yeah, so, that was cute. What do we do after that?
So we debated going to, and I do want to emphasize, like last year and at most cons, we don't normally keep these many tickets that we don't wind up using, but we kind of didn't have a choice because the ticketing system kind of screwed us over.
Yep.
So we're debating between doing Saving Capilandia and Academic Conspiracy.
Both of which we had 1 ticket for.
Yeah, and I was leaning to do, Academic Conspiracy had 3 available tickets listed, so I was like, well, if we go to the Academic Conspiracy game, they'll probably have empty seats at the table.
Yeah, so we'll almost certainly be able to get a seat.
Yeah, and we debated doing that because it was a longer game, and I'm like, well, I don't think this game is going to even make if we don't go.
Yeah.
So,
but... And then, while I was doing some research on it, I was like, okay, we'll probably need, it's at 2 o'clock, Toon finishes at 2, we'll probably need to tap out of it early because I think it's in one of the hotels.
Yeah.
So we'll need 10 minutes to get over there. That's when I did the research and realized, I know why this game has suddenly got a lot of tickets available.
Mm-hmm.
It was not in one of the connected hotels.
Mm-hmm.
This is a hotel we would have had to go outside in order to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pouring with rain again. So I think that's what screwed that game over.
Yeah, which I feel bad about, but I honestly don't think it was likely that game was going to make anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel a little bad about that, and I feel bad for them.
But this is, I will admit, part of the reason why I'm not ever tempted to run at GenCon, despite the fact that it might be fun, is just I know they're going to put me in the worst room.
Yeah.
If you're not with a gaming group, they pretty much always do. Yeah. So.
Again, if somebody like Matt and they decided they wanted to run at GenCon and was like, hey, if you want the space it's available, we'd be happy to share with you again like we did at Origins. Like, I might consider it then, but running on our own at Gen Con, no, I think you're right. I don't think it's worth even. Like, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because we'll end up in Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yep. So I'm just picturing us playing on the beds in Bed Bath & Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Roll for initiative. My dice got stuck on the sheets again.
That's cocked. Re-roll it. So yeah. So I felt a little bad about us doing that, but there was no way we were making it over to that game without, like, yes, there is an umbrella in the con bag, but I would have had to be, like, simultaneously lifting your dress to keep it way the heck off the ground, while also holding an umbrella and doing, like, 4 other things. No, that wasn't happening. So, I think, did we kill a little time by going into the vendor's hall at that point?
Well, like, Cappylandia was only an hour break, so we mostly just sat and chilled on a bench for an hour.
Yeah, we did. And then we wandered over, and so saving Cappylandia was a very, very light game.
Yep. We only had 1 ticket for this, but the other people at the table all knew each other. It was like a family generally, and they were like, "Oh, we're 1 ticket short," and they were like, "Oh, no, we only have 1 ticket for this." And it was a family, and the mom was just like, "Well, I think my husband's feeling sick and wouldn't really want to play. If you want to," and the husband just started getting up.
Yeah,
like he wasn't even through the sentence.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna go take a nap." And to be fair, my plan, if I couldn't get into this one with you, was to just let you play while I probably found a corner of the room to also have a nap in. So valid, dude, valid.
Valid. These were young children. They said their ages because they made their capybaras the same age that they were, which valid. So they were 7 and 9.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not going to say their names. I don't even know what their names are. So.
No, but so again, we knew we were not going to be the primary focus of this game, and that was fine with us.
Yeah, I think all the adults were on the same page of like, let's just let the kids run the show. It's Saturday. It's 2 p.m. We're tired.
And both kids decided they wanted to be healers.
Yep. Of course they did.
Yeah.
Well, one wanted to be a rogue, I think. And the younger one, I still think, was learning the concept of turns, which was fine. Like, we both had a couple moments. Like, my Cappy distracted a snake with a balloon animal. That was the only balloon animal they could make, which was a snake.
Yep. It's the best balloon animal.
It is. But the adults at the table were really nice. Like, they were talking to us while the kids were playing and stuff like that. And the game system was cute.
Yeah. Again, it was very much like...
It was another card-based game system. Those seem to be getting more and more popular.
Yeah, this one just used a standard deck of playing cards.
Yeah, they did have custom Cappy playing cards, which is cute.
Which is very cute. But, it was basically a case of you draw a number of cards equal to your, stats, and, you also had your Cappies, which, in this case was little, 3D printed capybaras. It was a case of, okay, I'm 3 short of making this. I'll spend a Cappy and I get to draw an extra card. And you can do that up to 3 times. The mechanics of this were pretty basic, but I think works fine for a first-time RPG.
Yep.
Yeah, and the actual setting was cute.
Yeah. And I was also talking with the you just put stuff in various stats. It's a very rules-light RPG. It's very clearly meant for kids and families.
One of the skills you can put points into is cuddling.
Yep.
I gave myself a 4 in cuddling.
I gave myself a 3 in cuddling and a 4 in befriending. I think most of the capybaras had points in cuddling.
Yep.
I honestly just wanted us to form a giant cuddle pile. For whatever reason, you couldn't cuddle, though.
Yeah, I kept failing my cuddle rolls. Or draws, I guess.
Yep. And it's very silly. My one criticism is I almost feel like, and I don't even know if it's a criticism, it's just I don't even know if there really should be fight mechanics at all in the game, because capybaras just shouldn't fight.
Yeah.
It feels antithetical to the nature of capybara.
Nature's most chill animal that just makes friends with everything.
Yeah, nothing even eats it. That's the thing, is it feels like the conflict shouldn't be other animals, because all the other animals just kind of like that.
Yep. If you've ever seen footage of capybaras just chilling out next to alligators, it's great. Because the alligators every so often look something I feel like I'm supposed to eat you, but I kind of don't want to, dude. Yeah, it's fine. there's a reason why I describe why they are generally considered nature's chillest animals.
Yep.
They're just friends with everybody. It's great. Loving the car in this weather is going to be a pain. But anyway,
we can wait till tomorrow if you want for most of it.
Yeah, some of it, yeah. You'll maybe fans night and various other bits and bobs, but we'll figure it out. But yeah,
this was cute. It was chill.
Yep. Like again, I don't think it could have sustained more than about a 2-hour game, but that's fine. That's what it was.
Yeah, and the adults all had a couple cool moments, and the kids did most of the other stuff. So I do feel bad because they got the lowest in initiative, so we kind of finished off the Jaguar without fighting them because duh.
Power of friendship.
Power of friendship. But it was cute.
It was cute.
Like if the game was under $10, I would probably buy it because that's about the amount I would pay for this. So.
But again, we enjoyed it. Yep. I think the GM had the right kind of vibe and energy for.
Yep. It was a 2-hour game that was cute. Like, there's not really much to say about it. I really admit one of my favorite parts of GenCon this year was seeing all the GenCon families, though.
Yeah, there were a lot of good kids this year.
And I was talking to the mom because I was interested because GenCon in particular seems to have a lot of pretty young children, and I think most of the people with children under the age of 10 or so only do one day of GenCon because it's overstimulating for adults. Kids, I imagine it's extraordinarily overstimulating for.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely saw a lot more kids on Saturday, and I feel like even more kids today. Which I think is just, if you can only go one day, with your kids, you're going to do Saturday or Sunday most likely. So, yeah. And GenCon was, of course, sold out again this year, just completely. And they didn't sell out until, week before?
And I know children, I think, under a certain age, you could still, because I was interested, because it still said tickets on their website. If you had kids below a certain age, they don't cost anything, so you can just add their wristbands to their badges. I don't even think they really check them on young kids, but you can add them if you want.
Yeah.
It was cute. I enjoy watching kids play games a lot. And I was interested to watch the difference between the 7-year-old who was still definitely learning kind of how RPGs worked, and the 9-year-old who I think mostly got it at that point. The 7-year-old also had great reading ability.
Yep. They were having fun, I think.
Yeah. Well, they could also read their entire sheet, which I don't know if I could have done at the age of 7.
Again, it wasn't a complex sheet, but you could well be right. But yeah. So again, this was fun, this was cute. We then had some time to kill. Because, what was our last game of the day?
Our last game of the day was Aliens at Almost High.
Yeah. I'm so high.
I'm so high.
Which, we didn't get the joke until we sat down at the table, and the guy said the name of the thing, and I was like, oh, I've been reading it as Asmo.
Yep.
But yes, it was Am So High.
Yep.
Ha 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 ha. But yeah, so we'll talk about what we did during the break. So, once again, I think this was when we went into the vendors hall.
Yeah, and in retrospect, I am glad we didn't play that other game because we've been trapped in the Hilton for the tornado warning, which I don't think would have been a good thing.
Yeah, because this is when the tornado warning happened. It was at about 5:30.
Yep, we entered the vendors hall, and then the tornado, everyone's phones went off first, all at once, which was an interesting experience to hear.
Yep, whole bunch of, if you've had an Amber Alert or a weather alert crop up on your phone, you know what that noise is.
Yeah, but imagine them all happening at once.
Yeah, that was fun. So everybody gets at their phone and looks, and I was like, oh, there's a tornado warning, okay. And then, they there was an announcement, telling us that there was a tornado warning in effect, so we should all go to interior locations within the buildings and away from all windows, and away from any docks. And
everyone's attitude was like, well, we're in the vendors hall. That pretty much satisfies all those criteria.
This is about as good as we're going to get, so...
let's just keep shopping.
Yep. And then they proceeded to repeat that warning about once a minute, for the next half hour. And we're like, this is exciting. It reached the point where at one point it played and I actively just yelled, I know!
Yep. We're trying to get the rest of the hall to do it.
Yeah, it would have been great if I'd managed to get an entire hall to chant, we know.
Yep.
In response to the announcement going off again.
I do understand them trying to keep people safe, but I don't,
Once every 5 minutes would have
Yeah.
been enough.
It might have just been that like it was harder for them to have it in the hallway, so they just had to play it in the vendors hall constantly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might have also just been they had no way to turn off the system.
Who
I
knows?
don't know. Because like it was interesting because the voice that was saying it sounded one way, like it was pre-recorded, whereas the voice that said the tornado warning was over was a different voice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think basically when they realized there was a tornado warning, one person basically recorded a warning,
Yep.
and then they set it to play.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they meant to play it once a minute, but that's what they did.
Yeah, it was mildly annoying. And I do think it was a little bit stressful for everyone, just because being in the vendors hall is already a stressful experience. As far as we could tell, they weren't actively stopping people from going in or out, but
No, they were advising you to do that.
and I don't know what it was like in the hotels. Everyone was like, "Where were you during the tornado warning?" I've not read all the comments on that. It does sound like most rooms in both the convention center and the hotels are windowless because they're interior and stuff like that, so they're pretty safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if they evacuated any of those. And I don't know if they moved anyone to the basement or not.
So I know at least some of the hotels did actually move some people to their tornado shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that one
we did see this.
Yeah, we've seen video footage of this. You can look it up yourself if you're curious. At least one hotel moved a bunch of people into their tornado shelter, and then a pipe down there burst.
Mm-hmm.
So it started flooding.
Yeah.
So not great. We were not involved in that.
The roof or the ceiling of the vendors hall did start leaking. We did see some of that. We didn't see the worst of the footage you can probably find online. We saw some of it.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of leaking in the vendors hall, specifically right near the Cosplay Deviants booth. But that was like one drip, and it wasn't particularly heavy. We did not see the like shower / mild downpour that they had in the gaming area, which is one of the other halls. So we can't really speak to that. We've seen the video footage, but for the most, like, we were fine is the best way to describe it. We were just like kind of annoyed, and a bit stressed out. I'm aware they had to cancel the block party, and I've also seen that like a bunch of stuff at the block party did get blown over, but it was mostly like the barriers and the barricades and that kind of stuff.
Like, I don't think there was an actual touchdown store.
No.
Although this person did just post in fans of GenCon, how many people think that there should be life jackets available in the ICC next year, which is a good burn.
Good burn. Well played, whoever you are.
Yeah.
Good joke.
That was a good joke.
But yeah. My brain has gone blank again. Oh yeah. So yeah, like, for the most part we were fine. Other than being slightly annoyed, and after they basically said, okay, the tornado warning has passed, there's still a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, just be careful. But please go about your day. There was a loud cheer that went up from everybody in the hall, so that was a nice moment of camaraderie. And then it did mean we were actually in the vendors hall when the 10-minute warning went off. And interestingly, they clearly got Jeff Hayes to do it, who, for those of you who are not aware, is the person who narrates the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobooks and is a fabulous narrator. And specifically, he did it in his donut voice. So we basically got told by Princess Donut from Dungeon Crawler Carl that we could all like stop hiding under the tables now and finish up our purchases because the vendors hall will be closing in 10 minutes. That was cute. Like, I suspect they'd already asked him to do that, and he ended up putting a bit of a vibe on it after the tornado warning.
Yeah.
So.
Apparently, GenCon has its own drone show that was way cooler than our drone show. Check out this like figure guy.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, but it would have been impossible to see because all the windows would have been crowded. So whatever.
Who cares? But yeah. So we got out of the vendors hall at that point. It was a because that was the 10-minute warning. Like, we planned to leave about 20 to 25 minutes before the vendors hall closed, just so we didn't get caught in the scrum.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the warning, we ended up getting caught slightly in the scrum on the way out. It wasn't as bad as last year with the scrum getting in.
Yeah.
With us trying to go one direction and everybody else going the other. But it was a little uncomfortable.
It was a little uncomfortable, and I heard a bunch of people saying that they got overstimulated.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what from the where were you during the Great Tornado Scare of GenCon 2026? Comments. I was playing Get Gnomed in Hall C, watching the roof leaking and hearing tables scraping across the floor, trying to get everything out of the path of the water. Shopping, enjoying dinner, Vendors Hall, Fiasco Live. Wonder how that went. That was probably also an interior room, so, and I do think they were trying to be cognizant of the fact that if they evacuated people, it was probably going to cause more of a safety hazard than if they didn't.
Yep. Yeah, I think if you were in a room that didn't have windows, they probably just left you there.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, apparently Lucas Oil, they did put people into a shelter, at least according to this. But I don't know where they, like, presumably you didn't want them out on the stadium field, so.
Yeah. But again, I suspect the people who were in the meeting rooms in Lucas Oil underneath the stadium, they probably just left there.
Yeah, I will say this was peak con hour, so a lot was going on. Apparently, in addition to Fiasco Live, the costume contest was during that time period.
Oh, goody.
It sounds like most of these events weren't actually evacuated, because I do think they were in safe rooms.
Yeah. Or rooms that were as safe as you reasonably could be during a tornado.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. So what was our last game?
Oh wow, it was one person in the vendors hall was apparently giving out severe weather crowns and tornado discounts at their booth.
Of course they were.
Anyway, sorry. The auction was also happening, but that was happening all weekend.
We'll save this for stuff we didn't
Whatever,
do.
I want to read the thread. Leave me alone. This is our podcast. I get to choose half of it.
Okay.
We were at whatever, Aliens of Whatever High.
Oh yeah, Aliens of I'm So High.
I love how you forgot this twice.
Yes. So this game was cute. The system was, I believe, Teenagers from Outer Space 3rd edition.
Yeah. I will say the rules weren't really explained at any point.
Yeah, but they were also simple enough that for the most part we figured them out.
It was a decent, you had to roll one die.
Yeah.
It was mostly just the powers on the characters were so vague, I wasn't sure if the GM would just let us interpret them however they wanted, so.
Or if they actually did something specific. So this was another one where they had a metric buttload of character options.
Yep.
All of which were basically just classic tropes.
Yep.
So I picked the cat girl.
Mm-hmm.
An alien cat girl from outer space. But one of my powers was boy/girl/boy with a question mark, and I was like, I have no goddamn idea what this means or does.
One of my powers was telephone. What does that mean? So yeah, I wish the GM gave us a little bit more clarity on that, or just like kind of the vibes, the mechanics a little bit, because it took me, I think, a little bit in the game to kind of ground myself generally. Because it seemed like the GM was kind of confused about when I wanted to do stuff. I don't think this was intentional on their part. I think it was mostly just I was a little bit confused on what the rules were, so I was a little bit more tentative than I normally am with asking for stuff, just because I didn't know exactly what. Like, when you sit down to a game like this, you don't know, okay, how serious is this? What does the GM want? How do the powers work? And because that just wasn't explained at the beginning, I think it took me a little bit to find my equilibrium. But I got a romance plot, and I loved that.
Yep. Yeah, you got the boy who had a crush on you.
Yep. Well, I do appreciate the GM being comfortable enough to do that plot with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a little ballsy to do with a girl you don't know, but
Yep.
you know.
Again, here's the thing. He basically had the male character get flustered talking to you in he has a crush on you if you want to do anything about it way.
And I did.
And then the onus was kind of on you to...
Which I think is a way to handle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, this character is interested if you want to do something about it. And you did. So you had a romance subplot going on, which is cute. My character's shtick, because I noticed they had weird science on their character sheet as the thing they had a bonus to, I was just like, yeah, her recurring shtick is just like she keeps assuming that human technology is way more advanced than it actually is.
Yep.
Because it's basically meant to be contemporary. So she just kept asking, why they don't use what to her is incredibly obvious technology, like quantum teleportation, or why they're studying 3-dimensional trig when they're up to 9th dimensional by the time they hit middle school.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, which I think worked.
Yeah, I do wish the table in general had been a little bit higher energy than it wound up being.
I think, okay, I would argue that half the table was great, and the other half was a little bit more laid back.
Yeah, that's which isn't necessarily bad if you don't mind being kind of a background character. I think two of the guys were definitely kind of a bit more backgroundsy. The person across the table from us I thought was great at what they were doing, and the person who kept destroying fire alarms I thought was also great at what they were doing.
Yeah, she had a character concept and she was rolling with it.
I did appreciate her multiple attempts to destroy a PA system where the rest of our characters just kind of walked away and went to lunch.
And eventually the GM was like, yep, you eventually just exhausted yourself, and because the dice god said no, you were just not able to destroy it.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, this is funny.
I got you catnip at one point.
Yeah, at which point, obviously, I just started talking incredibly fast like this because it was very difficult for me to stop.
Yep.
So yeah, like that, again.
I broke a teenage boy.
Yep. I'm just going to roll straight past that sentence. Yeah, so again, like, I had a lot of fun with this game.
I did too. Like, it took me a minute to get the vibes down, but once I got comfortable, it was very, very fun, very, very silly, right vibes, and it was what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Like, again, we were just playing a bunch of teenagers.
Yep.
And again, this was one where I actually did, like, I played against my usual type.
Mm-hmm. And you actually got to play against your usual type in a way that worked.
Yeah. Like, I played a Capco. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah, this was about 3 hours. I thought that was the right time spot for this.
I would agree.
And it did have, like, the structure of a day where you're just basically interacting with different people than going to a beach party. It's more, I think, realistically, it helps to imagine that it's time, like, a week kind of sped up as opposed to a day. But, you know, it still works.
Again, we basically did 4 different classes in a beach party. Like,
yep, and lunch. So.
And lunch.
It was fun. It was cute.
Yep. Because, yeah, the basic principle is, like, a bunch of, like, aliens have suddenly made contact with humans, and humans have decided that, like, they need to share human culture with aliens. The best way to do that is to send alien kids to American high schools.
Yep.
Does this premise make sense? Not really. Yep. Does it need to? Also, no.
Mm-hmm. I did also appreciate that my, like, joke that the GM definitely ran with, where, like, people who were trying to get me away from the, like, boy that I was going on a date with were the QB and the linebacker of the football team, but obviously didn't know what their terms meant. So when they say I'm the QB and I'm a linebacker, I thought those were their names.
Yeah.
Which was funny.
Again, like, there was a bunch of great jokes that came from, like, from the entire table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was very fun and silly. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Goofy, fun. Like, and a game like this, it definitely helps that there was a whole lot of character options. Like, there was probably 20 or 30 character options.
Yeah.
So I had fun.
Yeah, I had trouble picking. There were so many fun ones.
Yeah. You went with the Shopaholic Medusa.
Well, it was one of the first ones I saw, and I'm like, oh, I'm a Shopaholic Medusa. This makes sense. I'm going to pick this one.
And you did look at a bunch of others, but you kept, like, coming back to that one. So. Again, sometimes that's the way that works. Okay.
Sunday.
So, once again, back to the Airbnb, collapse, eat some food as quickly as possible, go the heck to bed.
Yep.
Because, yeah, it was like 10:30 by that point. And then get up at 5:30. Or I got up at 5:30.
We got up at 6 because we had to pack, because Betty had driven their car separate. We had to pack the Airbnb up, we had planned to go to a restaurant after the con was done, which we wound up doing. So we packed the Airbnb up, packed all the cars up, dropped Betty's car off in the parking lot of the mall next to where the restaurant was, which is a perfectly legal place to park, I want to emphasize.
Yep.
And then drove to the con.
Yep.
So Betty and I were originally supposed to play a mermaid game together, but then they decided to switch over to play this Call of Cthulhu game, which I'm very happy for them for playing. It was 6 hours long, which is an intense game to be committed to. But the GM was in my Glitter Hearts game that I played last year. He made a drawing for me and everyone at the table because he drew everyone's characters and was just like, the second I saw that he was the GM, I knew that Betty was going to be in good hands, and I was really happy for them. Yeah. Like, I was almost a little bit jealous, even though it was Call of Cthulhu, because...
You don't like Call of Cthulhu?
Well, I was jealous because I knew that even though it was a Call of Cthulhu game, if that guy was the GM, I probably would have enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll look his name up just to make sure that I can, if I see that he's running games later, I'll be able to get into them. Yeah. Because he remembered me from last year, in part because I was wearing the exact same costume that I was wearing when I was playing the game. So...
Because, again, we were doing a mermaid game, so you were wearing Ariel.
Yep.
So we, again, her game started at 8. Or their game started at 8. Our game started at 9. So it made sense for us to like drop them off. We had a bit of a wander around Lucas Oil Stadium. Saw a massive queue. I'm like, I wonder what that was for.
So we actually saw one of the Pony Hammer guys who was super nice in line. So we asked him.
Yep, and he basically said, so there was a like scavenger hunt QR code scanning thing. And if you found, I think like 14 of 25 or something like that, you could get like a bunch of like free booster packs for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it was actually, I think, about $100 worth of stuff, or 50 at least.
Yeah. So again, if you're into Magic the Gathering, or especially if you're interested in the new like Hobbit expansion, because Magic the Gathering at this point just has expansions for goddamn everything, then it was actually a really good thing to do if you were into that.
I also saw this cool rainbow backpack, and I asked somebody where they got the cool rainbow backpack, and apparently it was also part of a freaking Kickstarter, stupid Kickstarter. I've tried to find it, but I can't yet.
Give you time.
You should have just offered to buy the backpack. I'm kidding. The person was very nice.
Yeah.
I have an eye for rainbow things. I don't know if people noticed.
Yeah.
So
apparently it was called the Companion Backpack.
Boo. It's the exact type of joke I would make. This backpack and I are made for each other. If you have a companion backpack that is rainbow that you want to sell, please contact Podcast at Podcast, whatever, then the show notes say.com.
Concouplepodcast@gmail.com. It's not complicated, honey. I love you too.
I love you too.
So,
we have to talk about this now.
Yeah. Here's where our GenCon went downhill again.
Yep.
Started off bad, it ended bad.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize the tornado warning itself for us personally really was not that bad.
No.
I do think it helped that we were in a space where we weren't made to shelter. I do think some people were. We were just kind of allowed to walk around the pedestal.
Yeah. We were in a place where we were about as safe as we could be, so it wasn't worth it.
And I do understand that having some people shelter. And they obviously closed the bridges between the buildings because all those are entirely glass.
Yeah. But yeah. So this game was, what was it called? Fish Out of Water?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, the basic premise of this is like, you are a group of mermaids at the end of your, like, high school equivalent, and you have to do this, like, big class, or big, like, senior project where you go and spend 3 days living amongst humans, pretending to be humans to, like, learn about their culture. So the entire point of this game is basically just, you're going to make a bunch of jokes about not understanding human culture. It'll be fun.
And we actually had we met the person who like designed the game as we went into the room.
Yep.
They seemed nice enough.
But yeah, we did notice this game has been running basically all weekend, which I think is at least in part because they're playtesting it here.
Yep.
Because like they don't have like the full finalized printed version yet and all that stuff. Which again, that's fine. I don't have a problem with people playtesting games. Somewhere like GenCon is a good place to do it.
Yeah.
But it did mean we were a mite concerned going into this one as to whether or not like it would be good, because if something has a lot of time slots over a weekend, that means one of two things. It's somebody's favorite thing ever that they're willing to run absolutely constantly because they just love it so much, or it's something that is being run a bunch either as a playtest or because people think it's going to be popular by people who don't really care and are just running a module.
Yeah. I will say that this was not a module. No. Like, I do think this was written explicitly for the con. The idea was you were mermaids who are going on land at the first time at GenCon convention, which is a great thing because that's something that everyone who's playing the game knows and can connect with immediately, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And they all have character goals that are very silly, like pet a dog.
Yep.
Which is fun.
Yep. Visit a park.
Yeah. Go to a comedy show.
Get a hat.
Yep.
Now, again, you're a bunch of mermaids trying to learn about human culture. You obviously know nothing about it, or everything you do know is very slightly wrong in the most comedic way possible. Like, generally speaking, this should have been a fantastic, like, stupid, light game to end the con with.
And we had a good table for it. I think all the people playing were, at least at the start, very game.
Yep.
You're going to have to take over from here.
Yeah, so the GM for this sucked on toast.
Yeah, last year...
I really wish you'd let me say the one F-bomb for this, I'm going to be honest.
Sorry, just say the F-bomb.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh my God.
This guy fucking sucked.
Thank you.
Like, I'm using a second F-bomb.
Sorry.
We've technically lost our PG-13 rating. It's fine.
We don't even have a PG-13 rating. It says explicit on iTunes. I've checked.
Yeah. So yeah, the GM for this was awful, but in very like weirdly specific ways.
And very targeted ways.
Yeah. So one of the things that he did at the start was ask if we have any triggers. We listed, the particular trigger you have.
Yep.
That got mentioned at one point.
Like, not even that far into the game. We'd only been playing for like 30 minutes at that point.
Yep. And he just mentioned this thing. And we were like, that was on our trigger list.
Yep.
Now, he moved past it fast enough that, like, we didn't make a big deal out of it. We were like, okay, that wasn't great. Don't do that. But it became fairly clear fairly quickly that, like, he didn't really give a toss about the player's, like, intent. Insofar as, like, the players kept suggesting things and then he would just kind of overrule them and do something else. And here's the thing, it felt incredibly sexist because literally the only person at the table whose suggestions he was following was me. And can you guess what I had that nobody else at the table apart from him had?
A penis?
That is correct, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we don't judge people's genitals.
Yeah, I was the only male presenting person at that table other than him, and it felt like I was the only player he was actually listening to. And it got real bad at a couple of points with you. Like there was one point where he was doing the classic go around the table and say what we all do, and like he was working clockwise around the table, and going clockwise, you would have been the last player in the line. I was next to you. He got to me, and then he did not look at you at all, and immediately pivoted over to the other players, and it's like, what the hell, dude?
That was blatant.
Yeah, I really wish I'd called him on that. I should have, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's hard when you're at a table, and it's also hard because like we're playing with people who are fairly young, like either late high school, early college age, probably. And they seem to be having a good time, and I did not want to ruin their good time.
Yeah.
But us and another player who did not mention that they had a scheduling conflict prior also left the table early.
Yeah. So the person next to me had, they were actually somebody who like works for this company and just bought a ticket because they wanted to play this game. And the person who owns who designed the game was like, well, I would have come to a ticket. I was like, no, you're fine. I wanted to play it. They left halfway through, citing that they had to like go run something in the vendors hall. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like they would have mentioned that at the beginning if that had been their original plan. Like it's also possible they just forgot.
Or just thought the game wouldn't last that long because they might have done some shorter sessions of the game.
Or something like that. But no, I genuinely feel like they realized they weren't having fun and just were like, I'm just going to leave. Because it says something that there was at least one, like, the GM made this one decision that nobody at the table was particularly happy with, and they ended up, like, talking them out of it afterwards by basically saying, yeah, so at this point I feel like enough, since we got this, like, time loss, I think enough time's probably passed that we can get rid of this condition and like, we would have had time to deal with this. And the GM was like, I suppose, yeah.
You can mention the thing, I think.
Yeah, so specifically, we'd all ended up with the sick condition, which gave us a -1 to every roll, and like.
Well, that wasn't the thing that I was upset with.
And the other, sorry.
Go ahead.
And the other thing was like, a couple of the characters had ended up like drinking too much coffee because, like, again, funny, and they were specifically like, yeah, you guys are gonna have to go to the bathroom now. And it was very clear he wanted us to like role play mermaids figuring out how to go to the bathroom.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, nobody was interested in that.
Like, no one picked up on that plot point, and I was hoping because like I picked up on the over-caffeinated version of the plot point. I was hoping there was like a subtle hint of just like, we don't want to do that. Yep. Like, that's not a thing I want to do. I didn't even think to put that on my trigger list because that has literally never come up in any RPG I have ever played.
Nope.
Like, maybe that would have been funny if it was like a 10-year-old boy who was dragged along to the game with his sister. But like, for adults, no. No, especially adults who aren't men at a male table, like that's just wildly inappropriate.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like that's uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, I don't want to talk about my genitalia in front of you.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's where he was going with that.
I do think he intended it to be silly, but like, you have to think about the optics of that. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not. That's silly if everyone at the table is a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That's not silly if you're playing with a game of adult women. It's
Yeah.
just not.
So the other person at the table, who again was clearly somebody who's also like worked for this company, kind of like unsubtly made him pivot away from both of those.
Yeah, and he actually listened to them, I think, just probably because they worked for the company.
Yeah. Whereas there were several occasions where, like, at one point he was describing like all the food that you can see, because it's like, yeah, you guys are starting to get a little bit hungry. You're probably going to want to get some food. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes sense as a plot point. And like you basically left in, was like, oh, they've got one of those, they've got a machine over there that makes clouds. Which again, if you've been to GenCon, you've seen the cotton candy machines.
Mm-hmm.
But he just like ignored you completely, and just like listed more stuff.
He literally cut me off to say more stuff, even though he was previously finished speaking.
Yeah, and like it's very like it's not. This wasn't he didn't realize you were talking. Like he could hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Like this wasn't a loud room. And then like at one point, part of the quest was, okay, we're in the vendor's hall, and like we rolled really well, and like extra magic happens, and like you suggested, okay,
turn the lights on.
Yeah, and you suggested like, okay, let's create like magical ribbons in the air that only we can see, that'll help us navigate in the future and make like getting through the vendor's hall the next time much easier. And everybody around the table was like, oh yeah, that's a really great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then he
ignored that and said that there was a conga line instead.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and like I didn't even like the way he did this was so weird that I didn't even like, because the entire table had agreed that's what should happen. I assumed that like that had happened and the conga line was something else. I did not realize that that was meant to be like the result of the magic going off. Like it was bad.
Yeah, and then I actually did have to go to the bathroom. When we got back in, we were in like a hotel room, and after the people on the other side of the table were done, he deliberately, because I'm like, fine, I'll give him one more chance, turned to our side of the table, deliberately pointed to you and not me, and asked what you specifically were doing, and did not engage with me at all.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just furious.
Yeah. At that point, we were just done. So we just left. We faked, we were just like, oh God, a friend of ours had an emergency, we need to go now. I just left.
Yeah.
And it says something that this table lost 50% of its players with over an hour left in the official game time.
And it's particularly frustrating because the table itself and the game, like, I will admit the game system I wasn't particularly a fan of, but
it was fine.
It was fine, but the concept was cute. It was what I wanted that morning, and the players who were playing were game. And I was having fun. He just kept wrecking the fun.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even really need to be there. If he had just given us the thing and let us play the game ourselves, it would have gone better.
Yep.
Like, seriously, if he had explained the basic rules and left us alone with the con book, we could have run that better than him.
Yep.
In a heartbeat. It wouldn't even have been hard, with no prep.
So this guy was very bad as a GM.
Like, to the point where this felt like, one, the way he treated me was absolutely unacceptable. Like, unacceptable. Like, even if he was annoyed with me, and I still don't understand why he was, you do not treat a player, especially one who's paying to play your game, that way. That is just not okay.
Yeah.
And you do not incorporate bathroom humor that involves mermaids going to the bathroom and having pretty intimate and uncomfortable conversations with strangers you don't know.
Several of whom I'm not convinced are adults.
Yeah, and we're on that borderline age where that is creepy.
Yep.
And, like, I don't know if he meant it as creepy. I do think, in kind of looking back, he might have.
I think it was just intended to be, like, funny juvenile humor, but I honestly can't tell.
Yeah.
But, like, it says something that half the players left.
Yeah.
And again, like, the game system itself, I think, was okay, but my main issue with it was just, like, it was clearly intended to be a collaborative system insofar as, like, you needed to get 3 successes on any given test in order to actually, like, fully succeed. And because, like, half the time you were only rolling 1 dice, if it was a stat you weren't particularly good at, it was literally impossible for you to succeed without, getting a decent amount of help.
And you talk a little bit more about why this was particularly antagonistic to me?
Yes. because there were several occasions when, like, you would suggest a thing and he would just fucking ignore it. And like one of the obvious things you were doing, which again was done by a lot of GMs at this con, was basically pitching, oh yeah, I'm doing this in order to effectively figure out how you would roll it on your best stat. But he was clearly of the opinion that no, he would decide what stat it was, and 90% of the time he was picking the stat that we were all worst in.
Mm-hmm.
Like my first roll was on my strength stat, which was my worst stat, and it was also for a thing that people couldn't like reasonably help with, which meant there was basically no way for me to succeed at the first roll of the game. That was bad. That was just really stupid.
Also,
and I don't know if that was just bad game design or if that was just him.
well, like, also describe how he treated you after he could definitely tell that he was upset. I was upset and was blatantly ignoring me.
Oh, he clearly thought that that you were ruining the great time I was having, and that he should focus on making sure I had a good time.
Who ruined the great time you were having?
He did. Like, again, he was not a good GM, and he was actively making the situation worse by trying to ignore you. Like, again, the mere fact that he went round the table, got to me, and then went, and then completely ignored you, that was the moment when I was like, okay, this is, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, generally that has happened to me before in games, but it hasn't happened when you're at the table. Like, generally, at least if you're at the table, I've got a buffer. And, like, it was hard because I do think I couldn't tell if the other kids were having fun or not. They were at least playing.
They were playing.
And I didn't want to ruin the experience for them. I will admit, if I had been at a table of all men and he was doing that, I would have just stood up and said, stop being sexist, and walked out.
Yeah. But again, like, I really wish we'd basically said, I wish we'd told him off when we left, but we didn't want to ruin the time that the other players were having.
Yeah. Like, that wouldn't have been fair to them. So we are going to be talking to that company, though, because that was unexactable on several levels.
Like, I am going to be sending them a very angry email as soon as I can figure out their contact information. Like, I know who they are. And again, like, it's not going to be hard for you guys to look it up. And I'm going to tell you, if you want to go to the trouble to look up who this GM was, you can. This was the 9 a.m. Slot of Fish Out of Water.
Yeah, and I feel like last year when my X card got ignored, if you listened to that episode, that happened. I tried to compliment Sandwich that GM as much as I possibly could. I'm a little done with that now. Like, I think we need to admit that role-playing games still have a huge and flagrant sexism problem, and I'm just done at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, we are calling GMs out from now on. I am not putting up with this anymore. Like, I am just done putting up with this. I'm tired of their power trips. I am tired of them not caring how their players want to feel. I'm tired of them being control freaks, and I'm tired of them treating women as inferior to them. I'm just done. And if this happens again at a table, I'm going to call people out on it. And I'm going to say, you're being sexist, and that's caused me to not have fun. I'm going to walk away from this table now. I hope you reflect on that. Because I can't do this anymore. It's happened too many times.
Sorry, I'm maneuvering around roadworks. So yeah, like that was not good.
No. And also, by the way, white men, you don't get to decide when you're being sexist. I do. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's fair. Like, again, to call this mishandled would be a massive understatement. Again, as you pointed out, like, this is supposed to be a light, cozy game. You should not have been having a goddamn panic attack as a result of it.
Yeah, I cried in a corridor. Your game about mermaids made me cry in a corridor. Yeah. This was not okay.
No.
You were being actively rude for me. You were clearly throwing some sort of dude bro temper tantrum that was unwilling to include me because for whatever reason you decided you didn't like me, and that's not okay. Yeah. And if you want to criticize me for not controlling my emotions, I'm not the one running the game. And I didn't treat you or exclude you in any way like you did me.
No, you were playing the game, and you were playing it well. Mm-hmm. Like, you were actively trying to include the other players. You were doing all the stuff you always do. Like, you were suggesting things. You were having fun. Mm-hmm. You were like including the other players. You were trying to get some role play going. And like every time you came up with an idea, mm-hmm. he would bulldoze through it and just ignore it. So yeah, this was bad.
Yeah.
This was real bad. Like, this might be the worst. This was the worst experience we had at a table all weekend.
Mm-hmm. It's not the worst experience I've had overall, but I'm a girl. And I'm tired of this. I'm just tired of the gaming community being like this. And it should not be like this, at least at games like this. Fine, if you grognards want a war game, fine. I'm not going to be involved in the grognards war games. But this was a game about mermaids. The vast majority of people who are going to play it are going to be femme-presenting people who want to do silly things.
Yeah. This was a game that, the creator of it was talking to us beforehand. I was literally commenting on the fact that, it's been really good for, group therapy groups. Because it, helps them, discuss their emotions and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no. Not if it's being run like this. Again. Yeah. Just so many red flags. And again, Jesus Christ.
What?
Not just this guy. I don't know how it is possible to screw up running a game that, again, if I was GMing that game, to a certain degree, I would have been sat back doing basically nothing.
This is the thing, is for this game, you barely have to do anything.
Yeah, it's a game that should be pretty close to running itself.
Most of what you have to do is just encourage the people who are quiet to talk.
Yep. And again, there weren't really any quiet people at the table.
Yeah, everyone was chiming in. It was fun.
Yeah. Nobody kept, trying to railroad us into whatever BS he thought was a good idea, and he didn't really care what he didn't care what any of the girls thought.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I made a suggestion, he followed it. I want to do a stupid thing with my horseshoe. Cool, you can do that. Okay then. At one point, I basically said, well, it feels like it would be this kind of role. And he was like, yep, that makes sense. Do that. He did not do that with any of the rest of you.
Yep.
All the rest of you, he had a I know what's best attitude.
Yeah, this was blatant.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was intentional, I don't know. But it was blatant enough that I want this person to hear this and think very hard about themselves.
Yeah.
You made somebody cry.
Yeah.
And it was not because I was being oversensitive.
No.
It was because you were being a jerk.
I am very angry with you. And you were I was trying to keep my cool and just make sure everybody at the table had a good time. And I think you misread that as me trying to have a good time despite my wife causing problems at the table. No, this was me trying to have a good time despite the goddamn GM trying to overrule everybody else at the table because they thought they knew better. I think part of this is just there is a problem that certain old school GMs have of the GM is God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do feel a little bit bad at this point because this is clearly not just a problem with this one person that's kind of coming across. And I do feel a bit bad that this is the moment that I guess I chose to go no rules barred, basically. No pun intended. Well, the pun was intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fairness, that pun is already stolen. So.
Yeah. But no, it's this game I think is just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back on this one.
Yeah, well, it was just I don't talk about a lot of the other microaggressions I experienced on this podcast because I want to remember the good moments, not the bad moments to stay involved in gaming, but it's a lot. It's a lot in gaming. It is still a major, major problem, and I'm a little bit tired of giving these GMs an excuse when they don't deserve one.
Okay, part of the reason that we like organizations like the Gamers or Matinee Adventures is that we know we're going to be safe at their tables and won't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, again, anytime you play with a random guy, you're kind of rolling the dice on that one. So, yeah. Not fun.
No, it was also, Betty had a great game, which I was happy about, but it was also hard to kind of watch that in comparison to this.
Yeah, Betty freely admitted that the game they had was probably their favorite of the whole weekend.
Which, if you have a 6-hour game that's good, I believe that, and when I saw who the GM was, I knew they were going to have a good time, so.
Yeah. But it did kind of hurt.
Yeah. Because they were originally supposed to play this game with us. And in retrospect, I'm glad they didn't, because they would have also felt miserable.
Yep. But, yeah. Again, jealousy is kind of a complex emotion.
I mean, it's not really jealousy as so much as it is just kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
I think part of the problem is like they had that, this was a transcendent game.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had one of those this weekend. Like we had some
Ponyhammer
that
was
were
close.
good. Like, and I love Ponyhammer to bits.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we had like that transcendent, this was amazing experience.
Yeah. We haven't had that in a while, I think, at cons. Oh, I don't know. A couple, like, honestly, Thirsty Sword Lesbians at Origins and a couple of the games I ran were actually that for me. So.
Yeah. Like, I adored my Road Trader game when I ran it, and my Mass Effect game.
Mm-hmm.
It's
kind of hard for us to share. I think that's it. It's just we haven't had a shared experience in a bit that was a transcendent game. I can get Mike to run a different one for us. Hey, Mike, can you run a sequel to Scooby Draft?
Yeah, can you run a Dread game for us? I don't really care what the setup is. Honest to God, if we contacted, we're like, hey, we've had some crappy experiences recently.
Can you run Dread for us?
Can you run Dread for us at some point? There was a non-zero chance he might agree to do it.
There's a non-zero chance he's just going to randomly show up at our house.
Yeah. Depends if he's still listening.
Yeah. Well, we should check when the Catacon, faculty con is, because we're invited to that now.
Were we? Oh, yeah, we kind of were, weren't we? Yeah, anywho. But yeah, so
we bailed on this. I got to like close to 12. I was supposed to go to one. I'm just like, I've given this GM enough chances. I am just done. I am not like, because sometimes when I have a mild panic attack at the table or like something mild triggers me, I can step out for a couple of minutes and regroup, which apparently pissed the GM off because his behavior got worse after that.
Yeah, like again, we basically we pulled the old we're gonna take a quick bio break.
Yeah.
Thing, and he seemed to get actively pissed off after that.
I'm just like, the fuck? I don't even care if I'm cursing at this point. So yeah, that sucked.
So we did technically have another. Wow. So we kind of wandered around for a little bit after that, like when it was the vendor's hall, bought a copy of the Land of Eve, which we'd been like, you'd been thinking about doing.
Yeah, and I did get the world's best palate cleanser.
Yeah, which was a whole bunch of small children running up to you, yelling variations of "Ariel."
Yep.
Including several who hugged you and like several who took
there was
pictures
one who just
with
turned
you.
my direction. I think that was they were all very, very cute, but I think my favorite was this girl who was also dressed in a princess costume while you were looking at the household stuff, and she just turned to me and immediately just gasped and opened her arms for a hug, and it was the cutest thing ever.
Aww.
But all of them were cute, and I needed I am glad I wore this Ariel costume today. I probably will wear it again next year just for this experience. Because, oh my god, those children.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really need to start preparing more stuff to hand out to them just to make it a more, memorable experience for them.
Yeah,
so.
we keep meaning to just give out, plastic forks.
Yep.
As Ariel, but part of the problem is, technically those plastic forks are a little pokey.
Yeah.
So you do need to be careful, but...
I'll probably get stickers or something for them.
Yeah. Or maybe just some little 3D printed things or something like that. There are things.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I needed this. Thank you, children of GenCon.
Yeah.
I do mean the actual children.
Yep. So yeah, so...
we were supposed to do Dandy Dogs after that, but Betty's game ran a little bit over. And I've already played Dandy Dogs and kind of didn't want to, so...
Yeah. Nothing against the system, but we also realized... So Dandy Dogs last year when we played it was the game where we played it from 8 till 10 and then had to go directly against the flow trying to get into the vendor's hall. This year we would have been playing it 2 until 4, and the vendor's hall closed at 4.
So yeah, we probably would have been realistically, since we also wanted to get home 3 hours later, which I don't think anyone has the spoons for at the moment, and I hate that term.
Yeah.
So we left.
So we went, we ate, we went to the restaurant we like.
Their service was aggressively chaotic.
Yeah.
The food was good.
The food was good. It's just... Okay, I'm going to go off on a brief tangent to talk about this restaurant. So I really like Seasons 52 as a restaurant. They have this really annoying habit of bringing your main course out while you're still eating your goddamn starter.
Yeah, this is the thing, is the Seasons in Cincinnati, they know us now. They know what our sticks are. They know what things we care about. Their service to us is great.
Yep.
Because we're regular enough there that they know us.
Yeah. We generally try and go about once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas when we go to the others, so I have a theory about why this happened, which is, we did order one of the traditional side dishes to have as an appetizer.
Yep.
And I think they brought out the appetizer. Then they realized that they were supposed to also bring out the side dish.
Yep.
So they brought that out. And then I think somebody thought, oh no, the side dish has got out. We need to get their mains out to them as quick as possible.
Yep.
So I think that's what happened there. But it was kind of chaotic. But
Yep.
it tasted great, so who cares?
Yep. So things we didn't do segment.
Yep.
There's a lot. I feel like that's enough. There's a lot.
There's thousands of events.
I'm not going to cover them.
There's like a burlesque show and a bunch of other stuff going on.
We pretty much interact exclusively with the RPG segment at GenCon, and I want to keep it that way.
Yep.
I don't care. Let's move on.
There's board games, there's miniature games, there's war games. You name a type of game, it's probably a GenCon.
There were several shows. There were some famous people there. There was a costume contest. There was also a costume parade. There were a bunch of people complaining. There was a lot of water.
Yeah. Again, I love the fact that everybody's already like, yeah, we probably, for next year's GenCon, we need badge ribbons that just say, I survived the GenCon tornado 2026 or something like that. Which, valid. Somebody's already made one.
Yep. They use pen, but still.
Yeah, because you can get some of those badge ribbons that are just like, fill your own.
But they made like 100 of them and handed them all out.
Of course they did.
So like they did write on a lot of pieces of paper. So.
Yep, good for them.
Yep.
Okay, let's continue with our con positivity and do top favorite con moments.
Top favorite con moments. You told me I could have Pony Hammer this time, so I'm going to have Pony Hammer.
Cool. Pony Hammer is awesome, and we love Pony Hammer. I would love to play Pony Hammer more often. Trying to think.
Supposed to be
I'm probably going to go with a Fate Bound game.
Okay.
Like, again, that GM
was fantastic.
Great. Like, so much vibe and energy, and like, it was kind of what we needed at that point. I'm
going to go with seeing the household cosplayer, because that was just awesome, and they were super nice. So
that's very fair. Okay, this is a very specific moment from I'm So High, which was specifically when the GM was commenting on the fact that every species in the galaxy has this one food that they all have, and he was like, and it's meatloaf, and I just looked at him and went, oh, I thought you were going to say Swedish meatballs, and he just looked at me like, somebody got the reference. It's a Babylon 5 reference, in case anybody cares.
Even I know that reference.
Yep, because I've told you like 10 times.
No, I actually just know that one. It's a thing. Like, it became an internet joke because Swedish meatball. Anyway, sorry, it became a meme after it was a Babylon 5 thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, your last one.
I did really love the role-playing games this time, but I do think I'm just going to have to pick small kids.
I was going to pick it if you didn't. And then, last one.
It's good, because normally the small kids coming up to me is your moment. I'm like, why is that your moment?
Because I like watching it. It's adorable. Everybody's so wholesome. I'm probably going to go with a crowd of people in the vendors hall cheering when the tornado warning was lifted.
Yep.
Like, that just kind of had a nice moment of, oh, good.
Yeah.
Like, none of us were super worried or concerned, but it was nice to have.
You're always kind of on alert or a little bit on edge, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not likely it's actually going to cause any problems, but it puts you on edge, so.
We're in the wonderful world of, this is probably fine, but just in case it isn't fine. Yeah.
So,
as per usual, this podcast always ends on one question. Would we go back? As always, this question actually covers a lot of different facets.
How far away it is, how expensive it is, what time of year it is, and all of those are entirely contextualized to us. So your answer would be different than our answer.
Yeah.
And we've actually been talking about this quite a lot.
Yep. And the answer is maybe, and it's going to be dependent on one specific thing.
It's actually going to be dependent on two specific things because they announced dates.
Did they?
It's a week later.
Okay. Oh, does that mean it might conflict with Key City?
Yes.
Oh, if it conflicts with Key City, we're going to Key City.
That's fair.
That's not even a question.
That's probably fair.
But the other thing that we have been talking about is the fact that we have basically come to a pretty firm decision on this one, which is If it doesn't conflict with Key City, which I didn't know about before you told me just now.
Yeah, it's a bit weird that they moved it back a week, but whatever.
Yeah, it might be availability or something like that. But what I was going to say, what was I going to say? Well, oh yeah, our intention is pretty simple. We will buy tickets. We will enter the ticket scrum. If we get good games that we want, where we're not going to spend the whole weekend stressing about getting into the things we actually want to play, we'll go. If we don't do well in the ticket lottery, we're just going to say, not this year then. Mm-hmm. Because they do let you return your badges if you do it within a period of the ticket lottery opening.
It's generally in the period before they mail out badges, which I do appreciate. I think that they recognize that some people don't want to gamble on this for this reason, and that's kind of where we're at this point.
Because we will, once again, we'll book an Airbnb, but we'll pick one that we don't have to pay for until we're closer to.
Yep, which is pretty much all of them.
It's most of them. Like if you're booking several months out,
they generally make you pay till closer, yeah.
And we will basically say, nope, okay. Or at the very least, one with free cancellation.
Yep.
And basically, we will say, if we can get into the games we want to play without having to fight, without having to mess around, without having to scrum, then we will go. But if we don't, if we have another year like this where we have to like sprint back and forth to return tickets and hope that like one ticket to a game we want to play opens up and then blag another friend in, or just, it's not goddamn worth it. Mm-hmm. Like this con is too expensive for the amount of stress it causes.
Yeah. And I do think I'm getting to a point where I need to be a bit more confrontational at tables now. Like, this problem is not going to change unless people work to change it. And I do think I shouldn't be afraid to walk away from a table if somebody's being sexist anymore, even if I'm having fun. Like, I just don't think it's worth it anymore. Like, I think I owe it to the RPG community to represent the RPG community and its sexism problem as well as I can. Yeah. Like, I just do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why it was this game that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe it's just the second time I was wearing an Ariel costume and somebody did something horrific to me. But, you know, it just, we're done.
Yep.
I'm not doing this anymore.
And again, I freely admit, if this episode goes like super viral and like people hear this story, a bunch of them are going to tell you to like suck it up, Buttercup, or variations on that. And if you want to write that in our comments section, you can do that. I'm going to block you.
Yeah.
But you can do it because that'll just boost our goddamn engagement numbers. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
Also, feel free to join a table of mine at any time, and I will blatantly ignore you the entire time. Mm-hmm. And I will watch the mere 5 seconds it takes you to have a hissy fit.
So yeah, GenCon this year, a very aggressively mixed bag. Some good stuff.
Some very high stuff.
Like, there were some GMs I adored. There were some games we had a lot of fun with. You know, there were some other players who we like met, and some people who we've like seen before at other cons.
Yeah, we actually saw a surprising amount of people that we actually knew, which is surprising given the amount of people that are here.
Yeah, there was one person who we met at the Catacon who was absolutely like, "Hey, are you guys doing a Catacon again this year?"
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, we are. I was like, excellent. I really hope I see you there. Mm-hmm. You know, and there was a guy from CincyCon who was like super excited to see us again at CincyCon if we go again this year.
Yeah.
We're unsure. That one's on the maybe list. We'll figure that one out.
Yeah.
But like, it was lovely to have those moments and those interactions. You know, or even when you like saw the guy who was GMing Betty's game this morning and he remembered you.
Yeah.
You know, from the Glitter Hearts game. Like, you know, I think he was a teensy bit disappointed you weren't going to be playing.
Yeah, he did seem disappointed, and I felt bad. But I'm like, oh no, you got a full table, so I kind of can't. But you know.
Yeah, it was like, we were only able to snag one ticket, and they're the massive Cthulhu fan.
Yep.
You know, like,
I'm sure Betty was a good representative on my behalf. So, but he did sound disappointed, which honestly was really sweet. So, yeah.
So yeah.
Mixed bag. It's like, this is just the thing, is just because it costs so much, it puts so much pressure on everyone to have fun. Mm-hmm. In some ways that kind of makes it less fun. This is I told you this is the reason why I like doing conventions as opposed to doing one major vacation like a lot of families do, because it means that if parts of it suck, you can just do like another one, and not all of your money is riding on you having a good time for this like very short period of time.
Yep.
And I tend to like that a lot more. Like, I don't know if I'm going to prefer that as I get older, but for right now, I really prefer just doing these small mini concations. I'm coining that term.
Oh, God.
It's a horrible term. It's not even a good portmanteau.
Yeah. Because yeah, like next week we're going to Key City.
Yep.
I'm confident we'll have a good time at Key City.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. And like Key City will cost us a lot less.
Yep.
You know, barring tolls and an Airbnb, but like the tickets are vastly cheaper. We don't have to pay for every goddamn individual thing at Key City.
Yep. Imagine if you had to pay for Nerf dueling and T-dueling and all that. I actually, there probably is T-dueling at GenCon, and you probably do have to pay for it.
Yeah. But yeah, and we will, you know, and we will even be on a panel at Key City because we got invited to be on one because like the host of that panel was like, okay, I need players for just a minute. Ooh, these people will probably be good.
Yeah, that was an honor.
Yeah, like I was delighted when he reached out to us. Like we are really looking forward to Key City this year. I think it'll be a great time. But at the same time, even if it's not, you know, like it costs a lot less. It's a lot less of a problem. So yeah. Have we actually bought tickets for it yet?
No, we've not, but we do have an Airbnb.
Yeah. We've got the Airbnb.
Key City is not a con that really sells out. So.
Yeah.
Although it does do numbers. Like
it does numbers for a steampunk con.
Yeah.
And again,
despite being in a really inconvenient location.
Yeah, Gettysburg's not great to get to. But yeah, again, it's fine. So yeah. So that is next week.
Yep.
But GenCon.
Yeah, I know.
If you were half the price, I wouldn't mind as much.
Like, this is the thing, is it's Origins, but worse. But the problem is Origins is only once a year, and I was telling you, we've been having trouble finding gaming cons that, like, do the types of games and have the types of environments that we like.
Yeah.
And that don't have a bunch of sexist GMs.
Yeah.
And for instance, I feel like I'm calling out a bit too many people here. Like, I've been at a lot of nice tables at pretty much all of the cons that we've went to. It's just, like, a lot of cons, either RPGs are secondary to the board games a lot of the time, where the board games are kind of the star of the show and there's like 3 RPGs.
Yep.
Or it's a lot of old school war game RPGs, which is fine. I'm glad that they have that, but that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. Because again, one of the, like, you know, we were kind of going through our list of like board game conventions that we go to, and a Catacon is always fabulous.
Yep.
We love a Catacon. That's very RPG focused and very much our vibe. River City, this year, weirdly, the fact there was a massive snowstorm made it more fun because it gave us like a bit of a like all of us against the world kind of vibe to everybody who was stuck there.
Yep.
CincyCon, the main issue with CincyCon is that like because it's effectively 2 big halls, there's a lot of like table crosstalk and it's kind of difficult to actually play RPGs there.
Yeah, plus it's basically in a room hangar at a time when there's not very nice weather, so the temperature's never great.
Yeah, the temperature's a little variable. Yukon is not, like, we've had some phenomenal experiences at Yukon.
Yeah, that one GM is like my favorite comedic GM ever. Like, I want to go back just to experience more of their comedy games.
Yeah, I feel bad we're not going to be able to make it to Yukon this year because it's at the same weekend as a Catacon.
Which is dumb.
There's Buckeye, and Buckeye is great, but let's be honest, Buckeye is great because Matinee Adventures just turns out there for whatever reason. And they're basically the only group that runs RPGs there, so we know any RPG we're going to go to is good because it's being run by a Matinee person. So, you know, and again, that's you know, other than that, it's Origins and GenCon. Like, are there any gaming cons I'm missing?
Those are the main ones we go to. Occasionally we do a different one, but those were the main ones.
Yeah, we were going to do Lexicon this year until
we bought a house.
Until we bought a house.
And we had to sacrifice something with that one.
Yep.
When you're moving that much money around and you look at hotel prices, you're just like, I can't do this. It's not going to be worth it.
Yep. Yeah, especially because that had like 3 games we were interested in, and and that one does have a policy where you can get into games.
No, that was CharCon.
Or was that CharCon?
CharCon was another one we were looking into later on, but they had a policy that their Kickstarter backers really Kickstarter is like the secondhand villain of this episode. Get VIP tickets and get into games first, and like weirdly all the games we were looking at were of course the ones that sell out first, because this is the thing that I am noticing is a lot of quote unquote traditional gamers, when you offer them a non-traditional game, stuff like Good Society tends to fill up with people who I would traditionally call traditional gamers. And I know that because you can see their names on the list, and they're the most generic white names ever. And that's me making assumptions. But if you have a table of Good Society that's all dudes, I do expect that statistically some of them will be traditional gamers wanting to try something new. And that's great. And as somebody who runs games like Good Society, that's great. But if you want me to come to cons and run those experiences for your players, you have to be welcoming to me.
Yeah.
Am I being unfair?
No.
And again, I feel like I'm not calling out any specific person at this point. It's
Apart from that one person.
Yep. Oh, cool. We can take free fill.
Wow.
It's just a pile of dirt.
That's just a pile of, like, building debris that's got a sign on it that says free fill.
Yeah, I don't know how much we've talked about the saga of this weird, like, outdoor food truck cafe area they're building in our town that every time we go by it looks worse.
Yep. Anyway, that's not important to the structure of the episode. It's just
Neither is anything else we're talking about right now.
Again, generally speaking, I still adore gaming conventions. It's just, it feels like it's harder and harder to find the games that we love to play at them.
Yeah. And tables that I can feel safe at.
Yeah. And, like, is the solution to that just to run ourselves? Maybe, but, like, I don't always want to be, like, because you've commented you do feel safe with me as a GM because you know that, like, I'm not going to pull that BS.
No, and I know that you're going to give me control where I feel like I need control in order to feel safe, and that's fine. But I also generally don't mind it. Like, the 10 Candles game, a game where I didn't have a lot of control and knew I was going to die, I felt perfectly safe because the GM was really explicit.
Yeah. Like, we went into that knowing exactly what it was. Like, they basically said right from the start, this is a horror game. There are 10 candles. When all those candles go out, all of the characters will die.
Yep. Like, if you want a game where you have complete creative control, or that's a narrative-driven story, or a game that's serious and not silly, I'm fine with any of that and can fit into any of those slots, but I need to know what type of game it is when I'm sitting down. And I read every single description when I'm choosing a game. So if you put that stuff in there about what type of game you want it to be, you can get the type of player at your table that you want, as evidenced by the fact that I do romance games, like, pretty much exclusively at cons. I've never had a bad table.
Nope.
I think that's because I put in the panel description what the game is.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to have to flirt with other people. Be cool with that.
Yep. It'll be fun. No, have fun. Have shenanigans. It will be silly and weird. You might have to roll some dice to see how good you flirt. Like, like, I roll RP heavy tables, and I specifically try to write in the description that that's what I want to do. And I will actively reward you for good RP.
Yeah, and generally we've gotten good tables because of that. Not every single one of our tables has been perfect, but, like, most of them have been good. Yeah.
Like, I have stories from most of my tables that I've run at cons. That are good stories, but yeah. Right, we are basically home at this point.
Yeah, and we waffled for the last 5 minutes.
Like we usually do. So at this point, thank you very much for listening. If you've made it through this whole, like, 3.5 hour saga.
Key City will be our last kind of major, to a certain extent, con of the summer. I do kind of like that we're capping with, or started with the steampunk convention for the summer and ended with the steampunk convention for the summer.
This is true.
It's poetic.
Yep.
And then we'll be doing probably smaller conventions and festivals because school's starting soon. I have a paper to write. We still have to unpack a bunch of boxes. I think the next time we're going away. We're still trying to decide between Missouri and IFC, I think, for basically the beginning of September. But after Key City, until those weeks, we're going to be mostly not.
Yeah, we'll be doing some lighter stuff, and we need to, like, figure the house out. But yeah. So at this point, thank you very, very much for listening. If you've had issues with GMs being sexist dickweeds to you at tables, please tell us about them in the comments section.
Yes, or just email us. We might do an episode about GMs being sexist dickholes.
Yeah, we will just do an episode where we just read out the stories you send us about GMs being sexist dickholes. We'll make them anonymous.
We will make them anonymous. We did not name this GM. We will not name others.
Yeah.
Okay. We're home. I really need to get in the house.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.